All right, all right. Welcome back to yet another Bree Hive Live. What is going on? How is everyone's Tuesday going? Today, we are going to be covering the trial of YouTube, I would like to say, because it seems like everybody and their mama is covering this trial. But here on the Bree Hive Live, we don't really have time to sit through it and watching it day by day. So I watched it on 2 times speed so that you don't have to. And so today we are going to be talking about the Rust shooting trial. We are already on day 4 of, I guess, probably like 15 since the trial is supposed to last 3 weeks. We are on day 4 already, and it has been pretty spicy so far. And the witnesses are doing pretty well for me, in my opinion. And Miss Gutierrez Reed is a Reed Gutierrez. I keep mixing it up. But Hannah, I don't think this is going too well for you. Let me know what y'all think so far about the trial in the comments. If you have been keeping up with it, let me know who you're watching live with, okay? I want to know who you're getting commentary from, or if you're just watching it silent, no commentary for the other legal YouTubers on the YouTube, what do we call it, YouTube world? I don't know. And let me know if you're watching with any other YouTubers, and let me know how you guys think the trial is going so far. Sorry, I have been watching this trial on 2 times speed to catch up for y'all, so I'm a little brain fog going on, but that's okay. If you are watching live, go ahead and drop it in the comments to let us know that you're watching live. We have a good recap on the testimony that has gone forward already, what we think about the witnesses so far, how they come off to me, and maybe not probably to the jury, because I can't speak for every juror, but I'll let you know how they come off to me and whether I think that they're doing a good job. And I got some commentary about the actual defense attorney. Like, he is not the woman. The woman's a little, soft-spoken. The defense attorney is a little snappy. And I don't know the names of the attorneys. That's probably bad. But the woman prosecutor, she is killing it on sidebars, because everything they object to and they request to approach the judge with, she comes back and asks the exact same question, which leads me to believe that she won on the sidebar. And especially when she says, "Do you remember the question?" And she basically just repeats the question in a way that makes sure that she does not go over the scope of which the judge is allowing the question to go forward. Now, do I think that there's some type of maybe what I would like to call, something popped up in the back of my live stream? That might be Kimmy. Is there something where we may call like rapport? Does the prosecuting attorney have a rapport with the judge? I'm pretty sure she does. And she prosecutes, so she probably know exactly what this particular judge likes and how she likes the questions to be asked. The defense attorney, on the other hand, I don't know. He's not coming off favorable to me. For lack of a better word, he's coming off as very defensive. And I understand that he's the defense attorney, but he is still coming off very defensive. And to me, it doesn't look good for his client. No one is in the chat today letting us know who's watching live, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and jump into what we're getting into for the live stream in just a moment. We're going to have Bossy B bring us in to the recap. All right, let's. Oh, we got Smalls in the building. Smalls, a member, moderator of the channel. Welcome into the live stream, saying what up, Bree Hive. Hello, and welcome into the live stream. Smalls also saying hope everyone is well. It is Tuesday, and I forgot to send the picture. I do have a picture, and I'm sorry if it's too late to make the flyer. I don't have any pictures, Small. I'm sorry. I really am. I got overwhelmed this weekend. I had to watch this on like double time speed, so I did not have time to take a picture for you, but I found a picture that could possibly work. So I'm going to send it to Kimmy at the end of the live stream. Kimmy Locker says, hello, Bree Hive, member, moderator, consultant, and what's the other one? Paralegal of the channel. yes. Shout out to Kimmy. She made a PowerPoint for us so that if you're not watching the trial live, you get to see pictures of people that are testifying. And let me tell you, the first person that Kimmy has on the slide, I do not recognize him. And I don't know if it's just because I was in listen mode only. Maybe that's why I was in listen mode only, because I was listening as I was driving. But he looks nothing like I thought he looked. He's not even wearing the same clothes as what I thought he was wearing. So that's all my bad. But shout out to Kimmy. She got a PowerPoint for us. We're going to hope that the technical things go well today, and I'm sure they are. Kimmy's also going to be joining us later on the live because we divided and conquer. I did not go over day 2, so Kimmy is going to let us know her thoughts and opinions on what happened on day 2. We got Tanya D saying, hello, everyone. Another member and moderator of the channel. Hello and welcome into the live stream. Nice to see you tonight. Let me know who you guys are watching with, and I'm getting comments saying that the chat is broken again, and I don't know what that is about. I don't know how to fix the chat. And let me know if y'all know if anyone else is having this problem. I only stream twice a week, so I don't know what's going on with the chat. I'm sorry, y'all, if y'all are unable to chat. Tanya D says, I think it's broken. Yeah, I don't know. Small says the graphic been up. How come I haven't seen it? Sorry, I'm gonna have to go look. My weekend was crazy. I'm telling y'all, I did not have it together this weekend. I've moved my sister. I went all around town, helping other people. So my weekend has been hectic. And then I got stuck, y'all. I got stuck in court yesterday, waiting to be reassigned to a judge because this kid decided that he didn't want a commissioner to hear his case. Which, does he even know what that means? I don't know. I don't know if he knew what that means, but I got stuck at court waiting to be reassigned. I felt so bad for my clients because we couldn't really move the case forward. So that was another loophole in my week so far. It's not going well, but we're going to hope that the week turns around. And Just Me MD says, I'm here late, but honey, sending love from East Texas. Hey, Bree Hive, hello. Another member of the channel. Welcome back to the live stream. And you're not late. We just started 7 minutes ago. So it's all good. And apparently the chat is having problems again. So hopefully it will get fixed. Small says, check your IG, Bree. LOL, last night I spent a couple hours tracking down and editing photos of you for the guy. Sorry. I was literally going to send it yesterday, and then I got stuck in court. Let's see. And I don't go on Instagram, so I don't even know what Instagram are you tagging. I only go on my personal Instagram to be nosy. I don't go on my business Instagram, so maybe that's why I haven't seen it. So let me see. And I got 3 Instagrams. I'm thinking it's this one. Oh, I'll do it when I get off live. I'll do it in a second. Okay. Tiny D says it's not you, it's YouTube. So other creators are having the same issues. Just Me MD says YouTube be tripping, and I guess it is because this is a week later and we're still having these problems. Small says, yeah, nothing you can do about the chat, Bree. That's YouTube. Shaking my head. Oh, that sucks. I'm really excited to hear what y'all have to say about the case. Going forward with Gutierrez Reed, I know some of you popped in late. I have opinions about the attorney, about Miss Gutierrez Reed Gutierrez. I don't know which way it is, but have opinions about her. I have opinions about their paralegal or whoever that is that comes with the face beat every day. Not all that much opinions about her. And then the lady attorney seems like she's not there all the time. And she's interesting to me as well. She doesn't seem as tenured as the other attorneys, and I could just be being judgy. I don't know. But when I'm gonna get into it, I'm gonna get into defense attorney first chair, who I'm assuming is the first chair, which is the bald Mr. Clean Man. I'm gonna get into him and his theory of the case and how I'm a little bit concerned about what his what do I call it? Experience is for the guy coming after all of the experts, what his experience is in handling these types of cases, because his theory of the case is for us to feel bad that Gutierrez Reed, whoever she is a young 24-year-old woman. Like, that's his whole case. She's a young 24-year-old woman. How could she possibly stand up to Alec Baldwin? She took the job. What do you mean? We're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. But if he calls this girl a young lady, 24, if I have to hear that she was 24 one more time to justify why she screwed up, I don't know. And I don't know how well the jury is going to take to that either. So let's see. It's YouTube. Small says on YouTube. Geez, my bad. Okay, it's on YouTube. Okay. Elin, hello, another member of the channel. Welcome back into the live stream saying, hey, Bree Hive. Hello, nice to have you here tonight. Let me know who y'all are watching live with, because I know some of y'all are still watching it live and then coming to recap, which I definitely appreciate. But let me know who you're watching live with. I want to know what kind of feedback y'all are getting. I am not watching live with anyone. I'm watching straight through because I don't have time to hear my Chatterbox colleagues talk about the case. I want to form my own opinions. So let's see here. Saying, hi, how are you? Elin said, the lady attorney Monica joined the case yesterday. Bearded attorney is out. Who's the bearded attorney? There was a bearded attorney? Mind you guys, I watched the first day not looking at the screen. I know Baldy, and I did not mean to say that. Mr. Clean, I don't know if that's nicer. I don't know the attorneys' names, and so I'm just like giving them names. Okay, anyways, let's get into it because we have quite a few people to go to, and my notes are a little out of order. They're not out of order, but they're long and we got to get through it. So let's go ahead and pop through. I got 3 people to get through. Kimmy, let me know if you're going to be ready to come on in like, I would say 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Let me know if you're going to be ready. Uh-oh, what did I just do? Backstage messing things up. Okay, come on, bossy. I love how I talk to this thing as if I'm not pushing the button. It's so bad. It's so bad. Okay, we're going to jump right into the PowerPoint that Kimmy made for us. So give a shout out to Kimmy for hooking us up with another PowerPoint to go through so that everyone can have visuals. We're not watching videos. It's a lot to sit through it. I've been watching it on 2x speed, and I know some of you have been watching it with some of your other favorite creators, and I'm not going to make y'all sit through it again. There was one piece that I did want to play, which was the testimony of the dolly grip, but I don't know if we're going to get to that today. So let's go. I see Small's comments. Laughing my L, Bree, not Mr. Yeah. None of the names were very favorable to him. All I have is like Mr. Clean and Mr. Baldy. I don't know what to call him, but I'm gonna stop. Tanya D is watching with Emily D. Baker. I want to watch her live stream, but I do not want her because she knows what she's talking about. She knows what she's talking about, and I don't want her to like change my view on things or like influence what I have to say. So I know you're having a good time over there with Emily D. Baker. She has great live reactions. Small says, I'm not watching live anymore. Been too busy. This is my only source of the trial. Okay, perfect. So you can live react with us. I'm watching it on YouTube. It's a lot. It is a lot. And Kimmy and I divided and conquered. So let's go ahead and jump into it to see what is going on in the trial. Bree, what do you have going on? I cannot figure out my back channel here. I'm messing things up left and right. Here we go. We are in there. I like to be kind of big, so we're going to make Mr. Nicholas LaFleur small. And I hope I'm saying his name right. I was missing all of the names at the beginning when I first started listening because I was driving and things. But I didn't even hear them state their names. That's the issue I was having. So we have Nicholas LaFleur, which I thought there was someone before him, but I guess not. And he is a former detective for the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office, and he responded to the scene. I'm pretty sure he was a deputy too. Let me go ahead and pull up my notes on him because my computer screen is not letting me show multiple screens while doing the PowerPoint. So let's see what we have on him. He testified as to the body cam footage of when he arrived. So I think he was the first deputy on the scene, and he started to try to divide out the witnesses. I didn't separate between cross and direct on this one because I was driving. But he had been an officer for 4 years at the point in which he responded to this scene. They only had about 3 officers available to respond to the scene in the beginning. And 4 years as an officer, probably wasn't that trained. And he testified that there were hundreds of people on the set. So he was having a hard time kind of identifying people and getting everybody what they call corralled, which is kind of I don't know the best word for it, but kind of put off to the side the witnesses so that they're not, talking to other people, getting influenced by other people. But the problem that he had is that he was the only one there for quite a while, and he tried to separate out the witnesses, but they're little chatterboxes and they continue to talk to each other. He wasn't able to put them into separate videos. He had to tell them to stop talking several times, but these chatterboxes just kept going. The defense tried to make him seem, very inexperienced. And all he could testify to is, I did the best that I can do with what I was given. And with that, I think he came off as pretty likable and really honest. He couldn't really do much about people talking while he was trying to, figure out what the heck is going on. I think he also testified, I didn't write this down, but I think he also testified to the helicopter and the fact that it was not leaving fast because Halyna, the woman that passed away, was not stabilized in the helicopter, to his knowledge, could not leave until she was stabilized, which is an interesting thing that the defense brings up later. I don't like Mr. Clean, okay? And maybe it's not nice to name call, but I don't like Mr. Clean. He is, I guess he's not playing dirty. He's trying to poke holes. He's trying to defend his client. So that makes a lot of sense. There wasn't much he could really testify to other than the fact that he tried to separate the witnesses. And I don't think he didn't take the cell phone from anybody. That was a big problem because the witnesses could have been calling people, texting each other, and sending information. He definitely didn't take the phone from Alec Baldwin, who would probably be the main person. I think he testified that Mr. Baldwin was on the phone. He wasn't supposed to be on the phone, and all the things. So Mr. LaFleur, I think he did a good job. I think he came off as likable, and he testified to basically being the first responding officer to the scene, waiting for fire to come and waiting for the lieutenant to come, which we're going to go ahead and jump over to the lieutenant, which for whatever reason, I could not spell to save my life. Like, it looks a mess the way that I spelled lieutenant. But it's okay because it is just my notes and we are not showing it on the screen. So Mr. Tim Benavides, I'm gonna mess that up. Y'all can read it, right? He is a retired lieutenant from Santa Fe Sheriff's Office. He was the day shift commander on the day, and he responded to the scene. I believe it took him about 16 minutes to get to the scene. I know because they played his body cam footage and they skipped the first 16 minutes because it was all him driving. He spent 20 years with the Santa Fe police department, so he has some experience in being a law enforcement officer. Now, my question, and I don't know if anyone else has come up with this question, it kind of seems like it's a small city. Y'all know I don't know geography, and I did not look up where Santa Fe, New Mexico was. It seems like a small city, and they don't really get incidences like this, so they don't really deal with a lot of crime scenes, and maybe they do, but it kind of seems like they were flustered. There was a lot going on. He also testified to there being a bunch of people on the scene and trying to figure out what was happening and when it was happening. He described the scene as being chaotic and that he could not find the deputy that responded to the first call. So he gets on scene, he's looking for the deputy, he can't find him, and there's all these people running around talking, doing whatever, and he kept describing the scene as being very chaotic, which was very interesting for me. And then he also testified because remember I talked about how the officer was like, well, I tried to corral them. I tried to separate them out, but there were not many, vehicles I could put them in. And I still needed to keep an eye on them. Same thing. Lieutenant said the same thing. There was no way for me to really separate them out. He tried to keep the witnesses separate as much as he could, but there was only so much he can do. Like I said, there was hundreds of people on the scene. So he's running around trying to figure out everything. defense, or I guess defense didn't get there, but in the direct, he emphasized that their first priority was making sure that the victims were okay. So he made sure that Halyna was getting the help that she needed. He made sure that Joel was getting the help that he needed. And then he went on to find the gun. So then you see him running around looking for the gun, kind of telling people what to do, looking for the gun. Let's see here, you can hear Joel screaming in the background. I understand why that would be a thing, because he was shot, he was in pain. And he also noted that the helicopter had arrived as well. He finally located the gun, and that's when you see Hannah basically freaking out with her green hair, just kind of being, afraid of what is happening. I would describe her as being afraid. Some of you described her as maybe not being sober at the time, but when I watched the video, to me, it seemed like she was more afraid and nervous. She kept asking if they are okay. Are you guys going to tell me if they're okay? Basically, that I do something wrong. And darn it, you did do something wrong, young 24-year-old girl that your defense attorney can't seem to get over. So he continues to run around the scene. He cleared the gun, and then he testified that the prop cart was a mess. And I probably should have pulled a picture of that, but the prop cart indeed was a mess. There was towels everywhere. There were gun belts everywhere. There were ammunition out of the gun belt, out of the boxes of ammunition, no locks on the cart. Everything was just everywhere. And again, he walked away from the cart looking for, I forgot what he was looking for at that point. Let me see. I see he indicated that he secured the gun into his unit, which I don't all the way agree with that, but I don't know how police cars works. So he basically cleared the gun, and when he cleared the gun, he found that there was no ammunition in the gun. So either somebody took out all of the bullets before the police got there, or there was literally only that one bullet in the gun during the scene. I'm going to assume that someone took out all of the bullets that were remaining in the gun before the police got there, because it took them quite a minute to get there. So there's that. Okay. He is dealing with Hannah. She's freaking out. He puts her in his squad car. Now, I don't know if I said this all the way, but he put the gun in the front seat of his squad car, I think the passenger side, and he closed it. Or he put the ammo. He put both the ammo and the gun in the front of his car. I can't remember which one was in the passenger seat and which one was in the driver's seat, but he put everything, the gun and the ammo, into his car, and he says he locked the door. And this is why I don't all the way agree with him in saying that he secured his vehicle, and basically he had control over the chain of, what is it called? The chain, not chain of command, but the I'm gonna call it chain of evidence, because I can't think of the word for it right now. But he says he locks the door, but he puts Hannah into the back of his squad car, and he leaves the door open. So he doesn't close her in there. He says there's no way you can access the front of the squad car from the back seat. But my question is, if anybody knows, how do you just lock the front of a car and not the back? Because the back door, I mean, I guess you could do that. The back door is wide open, but he's saying that the front doors are locked. I mean, I guess you can do that, but to me, that's not all the way secured, because she's basically just sitting in the car with the door open, her body's facing out. She's not all the way in the car. He did not close her in there. So to me, I don't think that the car was that secure, but I also don't think that Hannah was trying to like grab guns and do things she wasn't supposed to do, because you could hear her pretty much the whole time crying and screaming and asking if they were okay. So there's that. He started asking for medical treatment for Hannah because she was hyperventilating. Makes sense. She is facing a lot of trouble. The helicopter has not left yet. They still needed to stabilize Halyna. Let's see. He was trying to also make sure that Alec was kept separate, but I don't know. I can't remember what actually came of that. If he ever found him, if he ever was kept separate, or where they put him at. Alex seems to just do whatever the heck he wanted to do. He testified to only having 3 deputies available at the time. He listed off the deputies. And basically, the cross wanted to know, or defense wanted to know, why did you not put these witnesses all in separate places? Which makes sense because they're not supposed to be talking to each other. He only has 3 deputies, 100 people on the scene, and he's still trying to deal with the active crime scene as far as getting the evidence and getting the witnesses that he needed. And then he testified that someone did escape. Someone did not escape, but someone did get away from the scene. So they didn't they weren't able to make sure that no one left the crime scene because there were only 3 of them trying to kind of corral everyone and keep them all together. On redirect, they tried to establish that witnesses. This is what got me on redirect. That's not redirect. Oh gosh, did I not do a cross? Oh, here's cross. Okay. So cross examination. So the defense got an opportunity to question Tim, and he tried to establish that there were more officers than 3 on the scene. And he tried to refer to a dispatch log, which indicates when an officer was called and essentially when they arrived. And even Mr. Tim's, or Benavides, I don't want to mess up his name, even his log was a little bit off, saying that he got there a little later than when he actually got there. So defense is trying to poke holes, but they're like, to me, it's not all the way sticking. Let me know what y'all think in the chat if you think that the defense is, thank you, Kimmy, the chain of custody is what it's called for as far as like keeping up with the evidence. What was I going? He's trying to poke holes, but his holes are not sticking to me. For me, they're not sticking. So let me know if you guys think that him, pointing out the dispatch log, would that really make you believe that there were more deputies there? And even if there were more deputies, let's say they have 5. Let's say they have 5 freaking deputies. There was 12 witnesses. What were they supposed to do with that? They were just supposed to not handle the rest of the scene and then send the deputies, different places to stand with one witness. I don't think so. There was 100 people on the scene. So I don't know. It didn't work well with me. He did testify that extra deputies came later, but it took him a while to assign them where to go because the scene was so chaotic. So many people on the scene, and he still had a lot of things to do. And then defense asked them about this random white truck and asked why were no witnesses put into these random white trucks. He was like, well, it's not our truck. I don't know what the heck is in that truck, and I don't control that truck. So why would I put all some of the witnesses in a random white truck that I had no control over, and I couldn't really keep an eye on who they were talking to? The truck was outside of the perimeter. He said he put the crime tape up to be around the church and where the incident actually happened. So the random white truck was a little odd. Okay. And then again, they tried to question the chain of custody for the evidence. Again, I'm not all the way bought with the chain of custody because he's locked the front door and it could potentially, I don't know. I feel like someone could have potentially gotten into the front door. It's just me, but maybe not. Maybe the truck is super secure and it has cool functions to whereas if you're in the back, yeah. And I guess that makes sense because it's a police car. But yeah, so anyways, he tried to poke holes in the chain of custody. Don't know if he was successful in that, but I did kind of question the chain of custody as well. Okay. On redirect, the prosecution basically established that putting the witnesses in the random cars would not be appropriate. And the reason why they're asking, why didn't you put them in this car, is because they're supposed to keep the witnesses separate so that they don't talk to each other. But in this situation, they had 12 witnesses, 3 officers, maybe 3 more came later. There were not enough squad cars close enough or squad cars at all to make sure that each witness was corralled in a different place to where they can actually keep an eye on them. He also testified on redirect that the car did not appear tampered with, which one part that I did skip over is that someone else actually brought Tim the rounds, the actual bullets. Someone else brought it to him. He had seen them on the cart previously when Hannah pointed them out to him, but he walked away from the cart to do other things on the scene. It was very chaotic if you watch his testimony and the body camera, and it's all over the place. So he had someone on the set go and grab the boxes, and he basically testified that the boxes did not appear tampered with. They looked like the boxes that he saw on the cart. It's a white box. Could there have been other white boxes there? Sure. But he didn't think that they appeared to be tampered with. Okay. I'm gonna jump into the third person, which it will complete day one, which I think it's not that long. And then I'll jump into the comments to see what the chat has to say so far. I know it's a lot, especially if you haven't watched it, but let me know if y'all need me to slow down or repeat something or kind of explain something a little bit more. All right, we have Marissa Popple, who looks like another person to me, in my opinion. They look the same. I was like, didn't she just testify? Marissa Pablo, she is a crime scene tech with the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office. She basically documented the crime scene. She photographed, collected, and packaged the evidence, and she sent items to the FBI for analysis. Some other things that I noted is that she specifically investigated the actual ranch movie set where they were filming, so all of the places there. She investigated the prop truck, so she collected evidence from the prop truck. And then she also investigated Seth Kinney's storage. If you don't know who Seth Kinney is, he is another, I believe, armorer, or he deals with dummy bullets and things like that. I want to say he's another armorer, but I could be wrong in saying that he does that. But basically, he has some type of connection with what is her name? Hannah's dad, and they like shot guns together, and they're trying to say like somehow those bullets kind of got mixed up. And then he also supplied some of the props the day after the shooting occurred. So, or not after the shooting occurred, but I forgot. He supplied props at one point, which would have included bullets. So they also analyzed his storage as well. And then let me see. Okay, that makes sense. Kimmy, I got you in the back. And then let's see, she testified to the fact that there are different dummy rounds. So one of the ways that you're going to be able to tell, at least on this scene, that you have a dummy round is if you shake it, it has like little beads in it, and you can hear them basically rattling. There is another dummy round where there is a hole in the side. So you know it's a dummy round because it doesn't have powder in it, because it has a hole in the side. All the powder will fall out. So no gunpowder. And then there is one where there is a hole on the side, plus it has a silver primer. The primer is basic, and now I'm learning too much about guns. The primer is basically a little pin in the back of the bullet that once the I guess I'm gonna call that a pin too, hits that little pin or hits the primer. Once the pin hits the primer, that's supposed to like ignite the bullet and make it shoot. And this particular one had a hole in the side, and the silver primer, so that you know that it's a dummy. Those were the three types of dummies she found on the scene in this case. There was one bullet that she found where the hole was actually filled and it did not rattle, but they were able to tell that it was a dummy, because even when there's not a rattle and there's not a hole, if you shake a bullet, which I didn't know, I don't really deal a lot with bullets, you can kind of hear the powder moving inside of the bullet. So she knew that one was a dummy because it did not have any powder inside of it, although it did not look like the dummy because the hole was filled and the rattling was not happening. She located a jammed rifle, which was a different actor's gun. So she collected that. And she discovered that it had the wrong size bullets in it, which we got a little bit more of that testimony on today. So we'll get to that on Thursday. Let's see. She also collected Alec Baldwin's shoulder strap, which had bullets in it. I believe one of those had a live round in that one as well, if I remember correctly. And then she described the prop cart as being very disorganized, like the lieutenant did. Okay. She said there was like random things on it. It wasn't just ammunition. It wasn't just guns. It was just like random stuff. Like I said, a towel, all kinds of stuff on this prop cart, or what was supposed to be the ammunition cart or the gun cart. It had a bunch of different things on it that was not supposed to be there. And then on the cart, she also found a lot of ammunition that was out of the boxes, which we get more testimony on that's very unusual. It seems unusual to me as a layperson in guns that you're not supposed to just have your bullets just hanging out, rolling around the cart around set. You would think that it would be secured in some type of box or a container or something. But my girl Hannah had them in fanny packs, just laying on the cart in boxes. These bullets were freaking everywhere for her. Okay. And then let's see. I'm just going through my notes, y'all, if y'all see me looking down. And then she basically admitted some photos of bullets into evidence that she took, just showing like the holes in it, the ones without holes in it, the primers, and talked about it. And then she indicated that she found 2 live rounds laying on the prop cart. And those were later examined by the FBI, who determined them to be live rounds. Okay, where did they go? I lost my place. She described that live rounds had wider noses on the bullets. The fake ones or the dummy ones, they tended to be around 4 millimeters, and then the real ones tended to be around 6 millimeters. She also found empty casings to determine whether a shell was spent, which means that it was basically fired. Those will have markers from the gun on it, and she indicated that she found that as well. She talked about how there were bullets in fanny packs. Like I just said, Hannah had bullets every freaking where. She was not being very safe, in my opinion, from what I understand an armorer to do based on what the state has told us so far. And then just like basic common sense. You're not just leaving bullets around. And remember, y'all, live bullets are not supposed to be anywhere on the set. They're not supposed to be anywhere on the set, but somehow they're finding their ways onto the set. And so she said out of the 255 dummy rounds, she found 50 loose rounds. So there were 255 dummy rounds located on the scene, but 50 of them was loose, meaning that they were just all around in purses, and not purses, but in fanny packs, on the cart, randomly loose, all of the things. They were not in the box. They were not designated as the dummy rounds. And then she said she found 1 live round in Baldwin's belt, which I talked about a little bit earlier, which was his gun belt that had the little bullets in it. He had 1 live round in there and a couple of dummies and a couple of blanks. And then she stated that all the live rounds that they found on the scene looked the same. So they had the same coloring, the same primer on the back of it. She said they all looked the same. So basically, if Hannah was doing her job, she would have noticed, hey, this one is likely a live round because it looked just like the other live rounds that I've kicked out previously. But we'll get into them saying that Hannah just was not doing her job. So for there, we'll pause from there. I'll go ahead and pull up the chats, and then I'll go ahead and pull Kimmy on to talk about day 2 after I go through the chats really quick. So let's see. Small. Not Mr. Shine. No. I guess that's a little bit nicer than my name. So we're talking about the defense attorney. Poor guy. This is the thing about doing a live stream trial. Even if it has nothing to do with your abilities, which I don't think his abilities are that great in my opinion, but I mean, he's just an aggressive man, I guess. His client is a young 24-year-old female, and he is an old grumpy angry man in my opinion. So yeah, but yeah, Mr. Shine, he's not my favorite. Must Love Fiction says, hey, watching Emily D. Baker and recaps with Runka. Okay, hello and welcome into the live stream. Those are really good channels to watch. I still haven't watched the one Runka was doing when I streamed on Thursday, but I'm gonna pop into both of those people's streams. Tiny says, I missed the first few witnesses. Well, you just got a little recap. I hope they made sense. I watched it so you didn't have to. And that was just at the end of day 1, which was Thursday when we were live streaming here. Small says, pro tip, if your chat freezes or you go a long time without seeing new chats, usually leaving the stream and coming back helps, or just click on the video again from your notification to refresh your stream. Thank you, Smalls, for reminding everybody of that. Seems like YouTube is having some problems with the chat, which is like not letting you read the comments or even not letting you comments. I don't know what exactly it is, but hopefully it doesn't last too long on the stream because we want to chat. We want to chat. Elon says, Mr. Clean is Bowles. Is that his name? Okay. Bullion was bearded and did the opening. I don't remember him. I think I wasn't. No, I watched it live. How do I not remember that? How do I not remember? I watched it live with y'all on Thursday. Bullion is no longer allowed to talk to Hannah. Monica is new. Why is she not allowed? Why is he not allowed to talk to Hannah? What do you know that I don't know? What did I missed the drama part of the trial? Let me know. Let me know what happened there. Small says, not gonna lie, I'd be trying to hear from everybody while on set, waiting to talk to the cops, getting all the tea while spilling none. And that's what they were concerned about. And that's what they were doing. They were being chatterboxes. Y'all see that? No, y'all didn't see that? Okay. That's what was happening. Baby Meatball says Bullion was forced to withdraw when they found out he was actually Rob in disguise. Are you talking about Rob from Law and Lumber? Is that what y'all are talking about? Small says, well, no longer allowed to talk to her. How'd that happen, Baby Meatballs? LOL. Why? My favorite username. Yes. Yeah, we want to know more, Baby Meatballs. Why is he not allowed to talk to him? Elin says, I watch Legal Vices and Danny on Direct. Okay, sounds like those are good channels too. Those are really good channels. Atanya D says, never heard of Danny on Direct. And then Elin says, Seth Kinney was the person Hannah bought supplies from. Yeah, he's a supply person. I could not think of for the life of me what he did, but he also has a good relationship with her dad, who is also an armorer. Remember, she's been doing this since she was 5, but she's just a young 25, 24-year-old girl. Like, no, that's not how it works, but whatever. Jalila Phillips, my sister, says, hi, Bree and Bree Hive, just popping in. I told her I was prepping for the stream, so now she's stalking me on my YouTube. Oh my gosh. That is, for those of you who do not know, that is my little sister. Tiny D says, those bullets were literally everywhere. They were all over the place. The cart was a mess. And I also forgot to say, I'm going to try to call you back later, Lily, but I don't know how long this stream is going to be if you are still here. But anyways, let's go on. Just Me MD says, I can't remember was the only instance where a live round went off. I can't remember, was this the only instance where a live round went off? From the testimony that I received, girl, you are not in trial. From the testimony that we received from the dolly grip guy, he said that the other 2 rounds that went off, he wasn't really sure. They most likely were either, I think, dummies. Did I throw you on or did you throw yourself on? I can't even hear you. Are you? Okay, give me a second because I can't hear you. It may be my thing. Let me see.
Oh, no.
Okay, there we go. I can hear you now.
Okay.
But now I can't hear myself.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's not making me hear myself anymore.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. Let me see. Go ahead and talk, Kimmy.
I thought I was turning my camera on backstage, but apparently I added myself.
Are you ready or are you not? Because I was like, where the heck did you come from?
I could have been in a lot worse position. I'm ready enough.
I was like, I didn't press anything, but you are here now. Let me just finish the chats and then we'll get into the second part of it. Okay, let's see. Just Me MD says, I can't remember. Oh, yeah. So I was saying that it was either going to be a dummy round or a live round, because he basically said he didn't see a bullet. I don't think anybody, stated that they seen a bullet. I'm gonna assume it was a dummy. Kimmy, do you know anything about whether the other two misfires were real or dummies?
I'd have to look. I don't remember, but I can see.
Okay. I don't think they said. From my recollection, I don't think they said. But I also missed all of day 2. So there's that. Just Me MD says, thanks, Kimmy, for the visuals. Yes, of course. Baby Meatball says, woohoo, I'm caught up with the live now. Well, welcome to real time. Now you have to spill the tea on why the bearded man cannot talk to Hannah anymore. Okay? Small says, bro, Mr. Shine is way better than Mr. Baldy. I can't do this on the stream. You guys, I have to be serious from now on. I have to be serious. Tony D says, I don't really like him, but the special prosecutor looks and sounds like an annoyed mom. Who's the special prosecutor? Is that the lady?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I would assume. I like her. I don't know. I like her. She gets things done, in my opinion. Elin says, he petitioned to withdraw. Judge said no, but he couldn't talk to the client at the client's request. He's in the back of the gallery.
I have that minute order if you want.
Okay. Do you know what happened?
So there's a minute order yesterday.
Okay.
There was a verbal motion and they had oral argument about it. And I don't know much about it other than what the minute order says. If you want me to throw that up, or I put it in Drive. It's a pretty quick minute order. It's just a page essentially.
Okay, let me see if I can escape out of our PowerPoint here and then go into Drive. And then let's see, what do we have? Let me refresh it. I want to know why he got kicked off. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Let's go ahead and share it because
he did not get kicked off. He did a motion to withdraw that was denied.
Okay. How do you do that in the? Oh, sorry. Yeah, because you can't do that in the middle of a freaking trial. They're not gonna let him withdraw. But apparently, it's just like his team that's still working on it. Let me stop the share and then let me reshare. Okay, this one. So it says, I probably should have downloaded it, but here we are now. It says, this matter came before the court on February 26th on verbal motion for withdrawal and substitution of counsel. Having considered oral argument and being otherwise fully advised, the court finds, concludes, and orders defendant's motion to withdraw of counsel, Todd J. Bullion, is denied. Mr. Bullion shall remain co-counsel of record, attend the trial, and continue to sit at counsel's table. However, to avoid potential disruption at trial, Mr. Bullion shall refrain from directly communicating with defendant Gutierrez as requested by defendant. Defendant's motion to allow entry of new co-counsel, Ms. Monica Barrares, is granted. Ms. Barrares may enter her appearance in the case and participate in trial. I wonder if she's from the same firm. Lead attorney Jason Bowles. I don't like that name. Bowles? Balls? Is it Bowles? Or Bowles? I don't know. Shall direct and coordinate co-counsel Mr. Bullion and co-counsel Ms. Barrera's respective participation in the trial, if any. So he probably said something crazy to the defendant. I don't know. Did they have the oral arguments yesterday after the trial?
I'm not caught up on yesterday, but it says that there were oral arguments and a verbal motion yesterday, so I would assume.
Yeah. And for mine, like one of the videos that I was watching, it just cut off at the middle of nowhere. And then I finished watching from, what do you call it? But she was already there. The lady was already there yesterday because she asked a couple of lines of questioning yesterday, if I recall correctly. Because I was like, who the heck is she? Because I was looking for the girl with the beat face. She was sitting in her spot. Yes, for yesterday's, but I also watched part of today, so maybe no, she asked questions yesterday too. But yeah, either because Hannah is the one requesting that he doesn't talk to her. So I'm assuming he said something crazy to Hannah.
Which is pretty wild to think about considering how sleepy we've seen him. Maybe that's why she's mad.
Yeah, because he's not basically doing what she wants him to do. But I mean, I really did not remember what he looked like. That's so bad. I just have too much going on. I really did not remember what he looked like. Anyways, let's go ahead and finish the chats and then we'll jump into day 2. Okay, where was I at? Elin said he petitioned to withdraw. The judge said no, but he couldn't talk to the client at the client's request. He's in the back of the gallery. And they said to avoid disruption. So they said that he could sit at the table, but he's not sitting at the table. So it must be something really bad. Really bad. He probably thinks she's going to lose. I don't know. Elin says, I admit I'm a document hound. That's okay. Baby Meatball says, nothing with bullion actually happened in open court that we could see. It was all in court filings where his motion to withdraw was denied and he was ordered not to talk to Hannah. Okay, but we just don't know what happened, right? The other misfires were dummies. That's where the two options, they're either going to be live or dummies, because I actually had it backwards. I guess the blanks, they are supposed to make like no sound. And then the dummies do the flash and the boom is what I learned on day 3 of testimony. Elin says the Tiny D special prosecutor is normally a defense attorney. Just Me MD says, I mean, before this accident, was there a previous incident where a live round went off? I don't think so. I think they were the dummies, but they did have misfires, but I don't think they were actual bullets on this particular case. Elin says they weren't misfires, they were accidental discharges. I'm not a gun expert. What do you want from me? Just kidding. No, yeah. There were some they called them accidental discharges. Elin is completely right. So I guess it wasn't a misfire. Elin says, judge just said he can't withdraw, but he doesn't have to be active either. The crazy part is that he has to sit there every day and lose money, because I'm sure she's not going to pay him for that. Baby Meatball says there's some bullion. That's what I thought of when I read the name. And I just thought maybe I was just thinking, but maybe I'm greedy and I'm hungry. But Baby Meatball, perfect person to say it. There's some bullion beef going on between them, but however, don't know all the tea. Hannah didn't want to talk to him, so he's not allowed to directly interact with her to avoid drama in front of the jury. I would like to see the drama. You cannot avoid drama for YouTube live streams, okay? Elin says, we don't know why. Small says, no, we don't want serious brie. We want regular brie and even spicy brie. No. I have to be serious at some point. I can't go around calling people names on YouTube. That's not good. Elin says, no, they brought a brand new attorney. I think she was there yesterday already, though. So I'm wondering if she's from the same office. I don't think we have that much information, though. Elin says, Barrera's Bullion, all B's, and Bowles each have their own firms. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, she's paying a lot of money. Baby Meatball says, Bowles of Bullion. Baby Meatball says he literally looks like Rob if Rob ate a little too much cheeseburger. I'll have to go back and look because I don't remember what this guy looks like. Tiny D says Runkle called him Timu Rob. Not a bootleg Rob. Oh my gosh. Small says not Timu Rob. Why is everybody roasting the F out of the lawyers? And like they're just there to do their job, and we are talking about the wrong things in the case. Elin says he has to sit there and he's pro bono. That's what I'm like, he's not getting paid. I would not pay him to sit back there and I had to cuss you out and I want you off my case. I think he thinks she's not going to win. I don't know. I want to know what happened though. Elin says they're not getting paid. They're not public defenders though. I don't think they're public defenders. Why are you saying they're not getting paid? But public defenders do get paid. So Please let me know if you know why you're saying that. Elin says misfire is when you try to fire and it doesn't fire properly. Makes sense. Accidental discharge and when it unintentionally fires. My dad told me. Thank you, expert dad. He qualifies as an expert. Okay, Kimmy, I am ready for day 2. So let me go ahead and get Bossy to do her job, and then we can jump into day 2. All right, we are here for day 2, and I have to reshare the screen because I messed something up. Let's see. We got a little bit of fan noise coming from me, Kimmy. Okay.
Did that do the trick?
That stopped it. So let's go ahead and jump right into day 2, which, like I said, y'all, we divided and conquered. So Kimmy covered day 2 for us. So let's see what she has to say. Oh, I have to actually share the screen. Share the screen, girl. Okay, here we go. We're on Christopher Duke.
So actually, day 2 started with some more Popple.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if my notes, if there was just more on Thursday or if I intermingled the days. I don't have as much as you, but Friday was a lot of pretty much just like showing photos of different ammunition in the box, a whole bunch of exhibits. It was a lot of foundation that was being laid for upcoming ammunition experts. And so I know that 6 rounds made their way onto the Rust set up to 12 days before the shooting allegedly. But I don't think, like Ellen said, that the previous shots, they weren't live rounds. I'm just not sure if they were dummy or blanks. And I can't remember the difference between them, 2 of them. But Marissa Popple was the first expert to explain the difference, which I should have noted. I thought I would remember. And so she explained the difference between live round, dummy round, and blank.
Right.
Which, a dummy round, she said, when you shake it, you hear ball bearings inside. And the prosecutor shook it in the mic and asked if everyone could hear that. And on cross, they really did not care for that. They kind of attacked her credibility and expertise on whether or not she was the right person to comment on live versus dummy round versus blank, and whether or not she had specific training in that, which she doesn't have specific training in those. She has other more general training in it, and then of course experience in ammunition with her job as a crime scene tech and collecting it. The cross also tried to make the point that Hannah didn't have a microphone on set so that everyone could hear the shaking, which, I mean, if you can't hear the shaking with or without a microphone, then you shouldn't use it if the shaking is what indicates that it's a safe round, in my opinion. So I don't really think the argument on the explanation versus live versus dummy round versus blank, that just kind of seemed nitpicky because she wasn't wrong. He didn't correct her. And then the point about the shaking it, I thought it was pretty good to show this is what it sounds like. Runkle's done that on streams before with dummies where you shake and you can hear it. So she found other dummy rounds that had, other than the one that had the, or none of them had, I'm trying to think of the wording. So the state asked, did you find any other dummy rounds on set other than the ones that had the patine, which is the oxidized color on the bronze, which was a new word for me. And she said, no, only the patine colored dummies had silver primers. And she said that was important because the pictures that she showed during opening statements where all of the dummy rounds had gold or like a certain color circle, and the silver in the center was a live round because that was the primer. So the point is that shaking or no shaking, looking at it
Was enough.
Hannah should have been able to tell. Oh, her name is Hannah Gutierrez legally. She goes by Hannah Gutierrez Reed. It's presumed and has been accused by the state and filings to have the association with her famous armorer father, Phil Reed. But her name in this case is New Mexico versus Hannah Gutierrez.
Okay.
And so, let me see. The cross also talked about whether or not there were fingerprints or DNA analysis done on the live rounds and whether or not there should have been. Again, the explanation when she discussed it with the state that there's not enough cells that get off on a not get off rub off pass on to whatever you want to call it onto live rounds for the FBI labs to do analyses. They don't. Apparently that's standard that they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And so they showed she also showed photos that she took from when she went to document the prop house from Seth Kenney. He's not an armorer. I can't remember if he owns or is just like the head of the prop house that they supply the things, ammunition to the set. But also it was said that he was supposed to be supervising her, but he was never on set ever. So I don't really know what to call him. I don't think
so. I think he was just kind of like a prop guy, but he knows her dad too. So her supervisor was Sarah Zachary. I don't think, other than giving supplies, that Seth Kenney had any other job. I could be wrong, but I don't think he was her supervisor. She was the head armorer for the movie.
I'd have to look because I know she essentially was, but I thought there was some testimony, or maybe it was an opening or somewhere else. I have to dig it up, that she was supposed to be supervised, that she was technically like the lead armorer or whatever, but it was kind of by default, like her other positions where there was nobody else around. So she was leading it.
I don't think
supposed to be.
I think she was supervised. I think she was the only armorer, and her supervisor was for the prop part of it. So Sarah Zachary is technically the supervisor over the armorer because not over her, but that's her category because the bullets and the guns are a part of props. But Seth Kenney, he was the supervisor, and the reason why his name comes up, what you just talked about, 6 of the bullets were already on the scene prior to Seth Kenney's rounds coming on. So that's why his name keeps getting brought up so much, because he's also supplying some of the props. But I don't know, and someone could say whether okay, so Elin did say.
Is it Elin? Okay.
Yeah.
So she said.
So she was bonded under his name, but he wasn't part of production. So she basically worked for him. But
the prop house contracted with, but wasn't an employee of the production.
Right.
So then, like she said, it was like an apprenticeship. That was my understanding with it being an apprenticeship, not a supervisor, as in like boss, maybe. But to my memory, Island. Okay. But my memory of it was that she was supposed to have some sort of specific oversight from somebody who had more experience and knowledge.
He wasn't on the scene, so they didn't do a good job at that.
The judge, Small says she thinks that you're right too, so I could just be messing everything up. I'll try to find what I'm thinking about one way or another, just so I can know what I'm wrong about.
They could be connected somehow. I just don't know how.
Yeah. And so she also documented the scene at the prop house, photographed, collected, and packaged, and took evidence there.
Mm-hmm.
And so they showed side-by-side photos of live ammo that was found on set and then live ammo that was found from the prop house. And she testified that they were different, and so they didn't appear to come from the same place. They also showed pictures of the prop house itself. And if you think the cart was bad, the prop house was
worse.
a fustercluck. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was insane. There were weapons and ammunition and pizza boxes and beer glasses. So if Seth Kenny is a friend of the father, like, I don't know if this is some sort of friendly, that's the way that they do it, but it was a disaster and not anything
and
that I would.
even if she's his apprentice, like, we see where she's getting her training from.
Right. And so the evidence shows that they weren't the same live ammo from the prop house.
Right.
But with how disorganized it was, I feel like it could have been.
Right.
Like, in theory, like a matter of time, maybe hopefully this will be the wake-up call for that prop house. Like, in another universe, he could have sent live ammo.
And my thing is,
somewhere.
like, I wouldn't be surprised if it did come from that prop house. I think where the prosecution is getting at is it didn't come from that prop house at a close time, because, like I said, the dad is already friends with Hannah's with Steph, what's the name? Seth Kenny and the dad are friends. And then remember, Hannah asked her dad we haven't got that far in testimony yet, but Hannah asked her dad for a picture of the boxes that he had at his house, as if she took boxes from his house. So they said maybe a couple months before, Seth Kenny and Mr. Reed went shooting together, and it was like a mix of blanks and live rounds at that point. So potentially that got mixed up and brought into it. So it's kind of a lot of moving parts of, although it may not have came from Seth Kenny on the delivery that happened 12 days before, it may have come from him at some point.
Yeah, so he might not have sent those to Seth, but
she might have brought them from
back
him.
Might be from him.
Yeah. So
right,
and then did she get into anything else? Oopsie.
Oh, my dogs. Hang on. Let me get my dog.
Okay. The dogs are having a party in the back. Let me go ahead and jump on some of the chats while Kimmy situates her doggies. Okay.
You can jump in the chats though.
Oh, okay. No, you can go ahead. Or are you done with Melissa or Marissa?
So I'm pretty sure that we covered all the important stuff. Mm-hmm. It was mostly a foundational witness again. Some points were made, but it didn't really move the needle either way, in my opinion.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump over to Christopher Zuck, because we got a lot of people to get through still.
Okay, so the following ones are much quicker. So, retired sergeant with the Santa Fe County's Sheriff's Office, which I don't know if it's just the angle. This is unrelated. I feel like he has the tiniest hands.
His hands do look pretty small in the picture.
I was so distracted. But so he also responded to the scene. So I believe he was one of the 3 deputies that responded. He was responsible for clearing the firearm and clearing all of the ones that were collected from scene.
Mm-hmm.
And he testified about finding a lever action rifle that he couldn't fully unload because a round had been jammed inside it. He kept saying jammed load or load jammed or whatever. Multiple streams, because I've been watching Emily Runkle and Lawyer, well, I don't think Peter commented on the jammed loads, but that was distracting for people too.
Jammed loads.
And so he said that the round that was jammed inside was a .45 caliber, which is slightly larger than the typical round that rifle would have used, which implies that it wasn't properly loaded. And so he also testified about how some of the guns, I don't think that was the only one, were loaded with ammo that weren't meant for that type of gun, because as discussed earlier, there were different types, calibers, just all like mods
flying everywhere. And we got testimony today about the rifle, unplugging the rifle thing. So we'll get into that on Thursday.
Yeah, he thought that he broke the gun at first with it being jammed and was worried, but nah, FBI did. So then that's all for that guy.
Okay, so he had a quick one.
Yeah, this day was pretty quick, and it ended by, I think, 2 something my time. I don't know.
So that would be
like noon. Like it ended really early on Friday.
Yeah,
and these witnesses were just boom, 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 really quick. So Ryan Litzinger, similarly to how the prop house was contracted with Rust but wasn't like an employee of Rust, he's a videographer and editor with a company called Production Outfitters, where they do behind the scenes EPKs, which are electronic press kits. And so he shot a lot of behind the scenes videos of Rust to use in the EPKs. And he was subpoenaed for more than 100 videos that he shot on set and behind the scenes. And both sides are planning to show a bunch of those videos later, but none of them were shown on Friday. So he was just called mostly to admit them.
Authenticate his videos. Okay. And that's all he did?
For all intents and purposes.
Okay. Jason Hawks, he looks serious.
Okay. Jason Hawks is where it kind of started to get interesting.
I'm probably going to go back and watch it because I saw some people say it was spicy on the afternoon.
Yes. So he is a consultant. He has his own consulting firm that does analyses of cell phone data and analytics and such. So he was qualified. He was the first of the day that was qualified as an expert by the court in cell phone records and device analysis. And so for those who remember Murdaugh, how they talked about the Cellbrite data, that's one of the technologies that he or his company used on Hannah Gutierrez's phone dump, which that was subject to one of the fiery pretrial motions because she, through her attorney, signed a release allowing them to search her phone voluntarily, and they didn't put any restrictions on it. And so they got everything, including some of the attorney-client texts and such, since they're in different states. And before the state reviewed that whole 18,000 page report, they turned it over to Seth Kenney. So defense, they were really mad about that it's privileged, and they wanted the trial to be dismissed, or if not, for the prosecutors to be recused. Judge essentially said, no, it's your fault. And the text that she evaluated in her in-camera review, she said it wasn't important for the strategy anyway. So that's why they were able to come in with Jason Hawks. And so he read some of the text messages from her phone out loud. And her phone, you know how people can name their phones different things?
Yeah. So
hers was named Gorilla Grip. It was named after a gorilla and a cat. So it was named Gorilla Grip Pussy Pal. And so that was showed in the screenshots.
No way.
And the screenshots.
This is not real life.
And the screenshots also had phone numbers, which he was asked to read out loud. So we'll get back to that point in a second. But the text that he read were essentially that she did drugs the night before. So he read a text from Hannah Gutierrez where she said, I don't need that tonight anyways. Right on. I might go smoke in the jacuzzi soon, but maybe not. I'm so pooped.
Yeah.
And another where she said she's headed down to get high out back. And the person she was talking with asked her how the blaze sesh, he spelled it sesh, S-E-S-S, sesh though. How did the blaze sesh go? And she answered, I'm still smoking.
Okay.
And so drug use and bad acts, especially since I was at home and not on set, was another pretrial motion.
Right.
They were just barely able to convince the judge to let them in because their argument was she was doing drugs when she was at home around ammo. So she could have mixed stuff up at home and then brought it to set. So that's how we know. But based on her tampering charge being for the kind of drug that is in like a little baggie and white powder, when they were talking about her doing drugs the night before and being high and having evidence and all that stuff around the ammunition, I did not think that they were just talking about smoking in a jacuzzi the night before.
No, that's kind of a story. I mean, not to say that people that smoke don't also do coke, haha. But I did not mean to rhyme that, but it kind of went. But I would think it will be the similar kind of drug, not a completely different kind of drug.
Yeah, it just feels like trying to present her as a 21-year-old who does drugs willy-nilly. Whatever. Because we were discussing in the chat before, like if she was high, if she was hungover from being up all night. And so reading that, it felt like a stretch. And I feel like the state presents things a certain way that just completely gets disproven, which the defense's approach with the way that they attack things may not be super effective, but when it's just the black and white stuff, and maybe the drugs aren't as black and white because some people might think, oh, well, if she got high in a jacuzzi the night before, then that would make sense.
She got high in a jacuzzi on weed the night before, but she brought coke to the set the next day. I think that's a large jump, in my opinion.
Well, the connection that they're making isn't even that she got high on weed and so she brought coke. It's that she got high at home and she had ammo at home. And so she was high on the job, but at home, like she was higher on the ammo. So since she was high,
that's essentially like a MO. Like this is what she does. And it's kind of like where you can't bring up other basically bad acts to prove that you must have done a bad act this time. So I think it's a little bit of a stretch. I think if it was the same kind of drug, then it would have made more sense to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't really like that charge. It felt like propensity to me.
Yeah, exactly.
So, he read those. He also read texts from December 1st, which I didn't write down what they were because they were after the shooting. But after he read some of those and discussed her drug usage or introduced her drug usage, after the break, the judge was pissed. She was mad at everyone because the screenshots didn't have the phone numbers reacted. And he was asked to read the phone numbers out loud.
Right.
Which I think I was watching Emily when that happened. And when she realized they were saying phone numbers, she turned it down and said, well, hopefully, like, this is public record. Hopefully their numbers have changed, whatever. Don't do anything with it, you know. But the public, I guess, took screenshots of the evidence that was streamed on court TV, and enough people called those phone numbers that I think the judge described as their numbers being blown up.
Right.
And so she was mad at people for taking pictures, and she was mad at court TV for not redacting the phone numbers, which is not how it works as I understand it. She was also mad about the mic picking up a conversation that she had with the bailiff. I don't think she has she doesn't seem to have the same level of like control and understanding of everything with streaming a high profile case as like the Depp trial.
Right. And not really understanding the technology.
Yeah. So then that's what I got for him.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay. So Catherine Walters, she's the unit production manager for Rust. Oh, apparently I didn't put Rust, but she worked for Rust, which when she was asked what that means, she said she's responsible for making sure that the day-to-day operations go smoothly. And then this like screenshot is right after she said that. She did kind of like a really sad smile and blinked a lot, and it was really sad. The state responded with a like, oh, or something. There was just something with her saying, oh, it's my job to make sure day-to-day operations go smoothly. And then it kind of hit her on the stand, it felt like.
Yeah.
That was kind of heartbreaking. So the state asked if Hannah requested additional armor days and more time to train with Baldwin. And she said that she wasn't requested it, or Hannah didn't request those things from her. Right. I don't know if she would have been the person to request it from, because that doesn't fully feel like a day-to-day thing to me. Have safety training and additional armor days, because they were talking about budgeting and all those different things. So there's other evidence that she was asking for those things. So that point was kind of to me. And then the state, this is one of the examples of the things that I didn't like from the state. It was brought up, the fact that Hannah Gutierrez removed things from the prop truck after the shooting, like a gun belt, it was a gun belt, maybe some ammo, but she requested access to the prop truck after the shooting. She was allegedly the only one who asked and removed anything from it. And so that kind of seems sketchy. Right. But then on cross-exam, it came out that was after the set was cleared. So if the set was cleared, then like it just seems like making something out of nothing for her to want to get her things or collect things from the prop truck. Right. She on cross, she was asked if she'd ever heard about complaints about Hannah Gutierrez, and she said that she wasn't aware of anyone complaining about her. People hadn't been saying that she was reckless, or I guess to her knowledge, people weren't blaming her specifically for the things that were happening. Right. But then on redirect, the state brought up that the camera crew, like the entire camera crew, quit the night before the shooting because of safety issues. Right. And defense tried to make a hearsay objection, but there was a sidebar. And like you said, state was able to continue that line of questioning because I guess it was decided he opened the door to it. And so there wasn't really any strong evidence either way with her either. And then just before the trial ended for the day, the judge sent the jury back out of the court and said that the bailiff was going to ask them a question and they had to answer it like on a piece of paper and then return it to him, and then he was going to give it to her. I'm not really sure. I haven't seen, there might be news about what that was, but it was kind of strange that trial was ending so early and some court initiated question was being asked to the jury. And in the process of asking that, the judge also was complaining about how, well, we have to send them out there so we can have some space and all that stuff. So, to do. And then that's all I have for day 2. It was a lot of quickie foundation and not a whole lot of big points, except for maybe the little bit of salacious.
I'm going to go back
stuff
and
with
watch
the text.
That's for sure. But we'll have Bossy bring us into the chat to see what the people are saying. And I was starring the chat as you were talking for the most part. So Tidy let us know that day 2 was wild in the afternoon. I missed it, so I'm going to go back and watch it. Elin said, no, they're just pro bono. Bowles is a film producer too. He's connected to her dad. They're doing this pro bono. Why didn't she hire someone? He's going to have too much emotion tied into it. I don't know. Kimmy, do you know anything about it being pro bono?
I don't. Between work and watching the trial, I haven't been able to dig as much as I usually like to, but I can.
Yeah, no, I don't know. That's like the first time I'm hearing of it. Well, I'm not that deep into following it, to tell you the truth, other than catching up on the trial. So, yeah, why would you do that? She should have hired someone that was not so invested emotionally. Small says a little bit, question mark. Kimmy sitting next to the Beyonce stage fan. Because no, it was off while you were talking. It was off.
Yeah, it's the same fan, like during Discord and different things, like. But I think this mic, since I stole a good one from my brother, it picks up on stuff. I even wore, you can't tell, I wore a crop top today so I wouldn't get so hot. My office gets so hot and I get so gross.
Yeah.
So
it's all right. Just me MD says, why not plea out Hannah too, thinking she can beat the charge? And I think Elin ended up saying she denied, or am I saying her Island? You just letting me call you the wrong name. I think she said it's Island, how you pronounce it. Yeah, that she ended up denying, but I don't know. I don't know that off the top of my head. Tiny, thanking everyone that hit the like button. Yes, thank you for the reminder. If you haven't already, please do hit the like button. It does help us out in the algorithm. I did not set a like goal for this stream, but we are at 18 likes with 14 people watching live. So we'll go ahead and set it at 30. Let's see if we can get to 30 likes. So if you haven't hit the like button, please do. Let's see if we can reach our goal today. Thank you, Tanya D, for the reminder. Tanya D also says, I don't think she was offered one for the plea deal I'm thinking we're talking about. Island says Hannah was offered a plea and she rejected it. I don't know what that plea is off the top of my head because, like I said, I'm only really watching the trial. Baby Meatball says, does anyone know what the offer was for the plea deal she rejected? I did not look that up while we were doing it. Small says, during the trial, I thought they couldn't reveal that. Reveal which one? They can reveal which one? They don't tell what they offered. Oh, that she was just offered a plea deal. Is that what you're talking about? Island says, basically the production wasn't insurable with just her. She had to be attached to him. Okay. But he wasn't really supervising her on the set, from at least what everyone else is saying, right? She was, not only was she not insurable with just her, but they also had her doing props. Come on, Alec Baldwin. You can't be cutting corners like that. Tanya D says, I thought so too, to Kimmy. I think the thing about him being connected to her. Equality says, basically the whole case is a mess. Everyone failed. Yes, and we'll get into that too. Because, so let me do it right now. I feel like a lot of points that the state is making, and I honestly feel like a lot of the issues that are being brought up, like, yes, we need to know what dummy rounds are. Yes, we need to know what blanks are. Yes, we need to know what live rounds are. But I'm thinking like the focus on a lot of the different types of issues are not and I guess they're relevant, but to me, they're not that relevant. My question is, did she check the bullet? Was she supposed to know whether it was not a real bullet or not? The answer to that is yes. And did she put it in the gun? That's what they need to be debating, like the DNA, the fingerprints, all of the things. Other than like, what are some things of like, okay, whether it came from Seth or whether it came from Bob Joe Schmo or whether all of these things, if she's the one that's actually putting it in the gun and supposed to be checking it, I don't see why I see why they're coming up, because like, oh, well, it would have never even been there if, Seth didn't put it on the set. But guess what? You were the armorer that was supposed to check it. And if you didn't know, then maybe you shouldn't have taken the job. So, Kimmy, did you have comments on that?
No, I agree. I think that the state is really trying to go hardcore and like preemptively like cut off any of defense's arguments.
Right.
And so they're just making all of the arguments. And I know that the special prosecutor is used to being, is typically a defense attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So she might be trying to plug all the holes or something.
Right.
But I think I agree with you. I think that the state is risking contributing to the question of the jury being your perspective of either yes or no, Hannah Gutierrez was responsible for checking, she didn't check, this happened, or all of this other stuff, they're contributing to the defense's theory, not that Hannah Gutierrez was unqualified, but that she couldn't possibly do her job because of all of these other things.
Right.
Because even with the live versus dummy versus blink argument, they kind of got in there, oh, well, the reason why we weren't able to tell that so easily is because they bought cheap ammo. So there was one of the dummies that is shook, and inside the ball bearings got stuck. And so if not all of the dummies are shaking or making the rattling noise, again, for your point, then you just don't use that.
Right. Exactly. It's like, okay, rather be safe than sorry than to just be like, oh, well, this is not shaking, but it looks like a dummy, so let's still use it, because some of the dummies look like the real ones, right? So I don't know. I think it's stupid, but I'm also not a criminal attorney. And I feel like they're kind of going all around the world. And I'm not even like just blaming the state. I think a lot of the points that the defense are making, like, okay, and is what I'm getting from them. Like, where are you going with that? Because it doesn't disprove what the state said just because, she was 24, right? Who gives a flying fig? She took the job, She's not 3.
She's 24 now, I think. So she was 21 then. But I agree.
No, she was 24 at the time. She's 26 now.
Oh.
Yeah, I read an article that said she was 24 at the time. She's 26 now. So, yeah. Let's see. Small says, I'm behind, so y'all probably know the latest info as far as who Kenny was to everybody. Small says, the last I heard was basically what Bree was saying, but I can't say for sure. So it sounds like, from what we're getting from the chat, is that he partly insured her as the armorer, but he wasn't really like giving her directions. That's what I'm getting from it. Tiny D says she used the Mary Kay bag. She did use the Mary Kay bag to hold the ammo. Like, girl, get it together. Island says Seth Kinney was a friend of her stepfather, Phil Reed, and he was sleeping with Gabrielle Pickles, who was Sarah Zachary's supervisor. Okay, that's a little bit of tea. That is a little bit of tea. Island says Kenny, Reed, Pickles, and Zachary are all on the same defense, or all on the defense witness list. So we'll see. We'll see what they have to say. I mean, of course, Sarah is going to want to cover her butt. Zachary is going to want to carry her butt, but they're low key blaming Zachary. So it's interesting that she's probably just a peanut. So
I'm pretty sure that they're on the state's witness list too.
I made the comment go away, but probably it sounds like they subpoenaed mostly the same people, honestly.
Who was it?
I lost it. It was probably before 8:26 because I'm on Tanya with the time is 8:26. Tiny D says the prop house looked like a basement instead of a business. I wouldn't be surprised with that. A lot of people run businesses out of their basements. Small says this is a mess, and I really don't. A really dang shame. It's a shame because the mess cost someone their life. Yeah, that's the bad part about it. And it was completely avoidable. The more I hear, the more pissed I get, the less sympathy I have for all involved. And my thing is, did other people have a hand in it? Probably. Yeah, somebody got the live rounds. If it wasn't, we don't have to prove that Hannah is the one that brought the live rounds onto the set. We don't have to prove that. We just have to prove that she's the one that was supposed to check the gun, and she didn't check the gun, and she put the bullets in the gun. Now, if she can prove that someone else put the bullets in the gun, which I don't know how she's going to do that other than someone else getting on the stand and saying, I put the bullets in the gun, or her getting on the stand and saying, I did not put the bullets in the gun. It was actually Bob Joe Schmo. Then I don't know how they're going to prove that with her being the armor. I think it's going to be assumed that she did the gun, and she's the one that said the gun was good to go because she checked it before lunch from what we got from testimony today that we'll get into in a moment. So I think it's multiple people's fault. I don't think it's just her fault. I think it's majority her fault, to tell you the truth, though, not to be mean, 24-year-old girl. But I think it's majority her fault. Tiny D says tiny hands. He did have little tiny hands. Equality says absolutely agree. It's awful as far as the case just being a shame. Equality says, oh, this is the guy who said GGPP. Oh, that's what Kimmy said for us as far as what her username
She's an
was.
animal lover.
Yeah, animal lover for sure. She must love animals. My girl she's a nasty girl. I'll give her that. She's a nasty girl. Island says, Bree immediately knew. Yes, I do. I did know about that. Just Me MD says, ooh, that's really bad. Tiny D says the drug charge is a stretch for me. I agree with that. I think it's a little bit of a stretch. It's almost like, okay, well, you know, you drink wine with dinner, so it's obviously that you get drunk every weekend. It's kind of like a wait a minute, what's going on? Just because you do drugs on the weekend doesn't mean you also do drugs at work. And her doing drugs around guns while she's at home is, to me, not really the same, because apparently from a lot of the testimony from the people that were actually on the set is that she wasn't actually around the guns that much, or not really paying attention to them that much. So I don't know if the defense wants to make that argument. It's like, no, that's a lie. She was just high because she was putting together other props other than the actual gun. So well, I think it's a stretch.
I agree. And I don't understand if Sarah Zachary allegedly emptied bullets from the actual gun that day and threw things away and was moving things around. Like, why is she not being charged?
Right. I don't know why she didn't get charged. And I forgot, somebody who testified to that. I didn't write that in my notes. I must have been driving.
About Sarah Zachary?
Yeah, like removing the bullets from the gun and not doing the DNA testing on the bullets of the gun. And like someone said,
being
trash can
removed from the gun was brought up during defense opening statement.
Okay. That's what I
remember if it was testified to in the first 3 days.
Okay. I was like, I remember hearing something about it and there being bullets in the trash can or something too. But I agree with Tanya. I think it's a stretch for the drugs for me. Elin says she seems pretty high in the interrogation. I haven't got into the interrogation yet. Have they got into that? I don't think so.
It's day 4.
Oh, it's on today?
No. Well, today, yes.
Okay, it would have been
today's trial.
Okay, makes sense. Island says at home is her hotel room. She was storing ammo in her room and getting high in the room. Yeah, like, are they trying to say she was smoking a blunt and waving guns around? Or are they just saying like it was just at home or her hotel room with her?
Yeah, I mean, while they were filming on site,
yeah,
it was essentially her home.
Yeah,
she was off the clock.
Yeah, off the clock. So yeah, I don't know I don't smoke weed, so I don't know if you can get like hungover from weed, but I mean,
No.
yeah. Tanya D says, I missed Catherine. I think that was the Row girl, right? Her testimony. Island says, word on the street, word on the street is one of the lawyers was playing court TV on their phone and they were checking if any jurors heard it.
So I did see that and I wanted to dive more into it. The audio issues when they were doing the body cam footage and there was like overlapping. That's what I thought it was, that while the body cam footage was playing, they were also watching the stream on the laptop. And so then it came up on the laptop, like over that, not just the phone.
Okay. But, oh, like it was playing on the mic at their desk or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Court coverage.
Okay, makes sense. But I don't think I guess this is a problem. You probably shouldn't be doing that. Just Me MD says, that's why I asked if this was the only accidental live round discharge before this. They had the actual accidental discharges with the dummy rounds. That's what I'm assuming, they were dummy rounds, because no one has testified or reported to it actually being bullets that came out of the one where Sarah Zachary did one and then another actor did one. Oh gosh,
Jensen Ackles?
Yeah. I've made one of the chats disappear, so sorry if I didn't get to that. Just Me MD says, like an accident waiting to happen makes me think of driving while intoxicated or filming a live while driving. Yeah, exactly. And I'm almost like one of the dolly guy, the grip dolly. Is that what it's called? The grip? I think that's what he was called. But he made a comment about how things kept going wrong, and I'm like, I could imagine someone saying someone's gonna get hurt and then it happening like 2 or 3 days later, because that kept happening, because those two accidental discharges happened on the same day. Tanya D says they are going hard on her but offer Dave Hawes a plea. Right,
a sweetheart one too.
Yeah, I think he got 6 months probation or something like that, or 6 months jail time.
As the safety coordinator who held no safety meetings and handed the gun to Baldwin without the armorer around.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe he. And you know what? I've been watching First 48 lately, right? And what I notice is that if you tell immediately, they're a little bit more willing to kind of let you off easy. So maybe, and I haven't watched the interview with Hannah yet, but maybe she was being a little bit more evasive than David Hall, and David Hall was like, I will testify for you against these people, and they were like, okay. Or he had a good lawyer too. So
she seems pretty candid in ways that
really
I wouldn't be,
because she's a 24-year-old young lady. She doesn't know how to lie yet. No, I don't know what he could have done to kind of get out of that situation. Maybe good lawyers to start off with.
Yeah,
potentially. Island says it came out with Roe that they only had 8 days allotted for her as an armorer. Yes, that is part of it. They told her she'd use all the days and needed to be props assistants a couple of days before the shooting. Yeah, so she had 2 jobs. She was a prop assistant and she was an armorer. Island says, so she was no longer being paid as an armorer, which makes sense. But
here's why that doesn't make sense as an argument to me, though. As the armorer, isn't she the one actively providing the weapons?
Yeah, so they wouldn't be able to have guns anymore.
Right. So there's a difference between her not being paid as an armorer and so not checking and not paying attention to guns that are already on set, and actively bringing a weapon on set and then leaving it knowing that there's no one there to be responsible for it.
And the thing is, she's not even arguing that she wasn't responsible for the gun. She's basically arguing they rushed me, so I didn't have time to check it. And I'm this, poor little gorilla grip girl that needs all of this assistance. I'm scared of the big manager man, So she's not even arguing that, well, I wasn't being paid as an armorer anymore. I was just a prop girl handing over the gun. She's arguing, oh, they rushed me so I couldn't do my job properly. Again, still admitting guilt. It's still admitting guilt. Tanya D says, I think she will get convicted, but get a low amount of time because there were so many factors and people that messed up, not just Hannah. I can agree with that. I don't think she's going to get a lot of time. I mean, the thing is, negligence is like the lowest criteria you have to meet. It's literally that she had a duty to do something and she didn't do it. It's not hard to meet. She doesn't have to say, oh, I intended to put this live round in there. Oh, I knew I put a live round in there, but I just thought that he wasn't going to pull the trigger. None of that. It just, you had a duty to check those rounds and you did not check those rounds. And if you did check those rounds, you let a live bullet go through. So there's that. Now, if she would have said, oh, I checked each round, they all rattled, I had no reason to believe that it wasn't a live round, then potentially she can get off. But the fact that she likely did not even check the round, I think that's going to be her downfall. Okay, let's see. But I agree with Tanya. I think she's not going to get as much time. I think, Alec, why are you pulling triggers? And they need
to serve time.
I think so. At least, I would say at least a year. I would say at least a year she would serve. You don't think so?
I mean, a year, just because the maximum is 18 months. And yes, she had the duty, of course. But if I compare it to like other involuntary manslaughter cases that don't have all of the other contributing factors, and then you compare it to all of the other people that weren't charged or like got the sweetheart deal, I mean, a year might be,
that's fair
right in the middle, but it just seems a lot to me.
It's right in the middle. And like I said before, I think she had the ultimate duty on the set to check those live rounds, because we all know, a lot of people have already testified that live rounds are not supposed to be on the set at all. So if that was the person supplying the bullets, if they were the only one was responsible for making sure that live rounds did not get on the set, there's no need for an armorer at that point, because the person who had the duty is the person that put the supplies there. But the reason why we put an armorer there is to check and make sure that the supplier is not a dummy round, right? So I think that she has more fault. I don't see how Alec, and people can say, oh, well, he was, a master in guns and, trained in gun safety and blah, blah, blah. His duty that day was to be an actor. Was he supposed to point the gun at people? No, but they also told him it was a cold gun as well. So I think she's the ultimate person, and someone in this case is going to have to do a good amount of time for people to feel like justice was served, and it's probably going to be her. I could probably agree with the defense on that she's the scapegoat, and that she's probably going to get the most time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Alec Baldwin is a dummy. That's probably going to get some time too, but I don't.
But he was the producer as well.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Like, you just don't point guns at people,
right? And he probably shouldn't have been a
little naive thing,
huh?
He's not a 24-year-old little naive thing. Like, you should know
he actually has gun training.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think he's gonna get time too, but for whatever reason, and this is just my feeling, this is not, based on any legal basis, I just think she's going to get the most time out of everyone.
How would you, like, if it was a civil trial and you had to apportion liability between him and her, how would you split it?
I would give her more liability. Because otherwise, what's the point of her job?
But how much more?
Alec was going to be an actor regardless if that gun was a rubber gun or if it was a real gun. But the purpose of having a real gun, he needed an armorer. I would probably give her more like 80% of the, or I would say 75%. I would probably contribute 20% to Alec because he knows that he's not supposed to be pointing the gun. And then I would probably contribute another 5% for whoever brought the live rounds onto the set. And really, she might have been the one to bring the live rounds onto the set. So she probably is looking at the 80%. We're not going to be able to prove who brought, just us watching the trial from, our computers. We're not going to be able to prove who brought the actual live rounds on the set without someone coming forward and say, I have live rounds and these came from my facility. So I give her most of the fault. Otherwise, we wouldn't need her job. They could just do all special effects. They could use all rubber guns and they can have a cartoon movie, right? They don't need the actual gun and the noise and everything. That's just my opinion based on people that have a duty. When we're talking about actors, let's say it was an actor that wasn't certified in guns, whatever certification that Baldwin has, would we hold them to the same liability as Baldwin? I don't know. Maybe we would hold Baldwin to more because he was also the producer and skipping over things because they gave them so, little days to get things done. So they were rushing constantly. So I would probably give him more liability than like a regular actor who wasn't the producer and that wasn't trained in gun stuff. So that's a lot of words. Just me, MD says, yes, you are taking safety for granted. I think it was something we were talking about earlier. Says, I feel like she is going to plea. It's too late to plea. Island says she can't plea at this point. Yeah. Island says Zachary has immunity, so she again probably had good attorneys, so she's basically can testify without being charged later. Just Me MD says, I thought prosecutor can offer a plea at any time. Just Me MD says so many court cases did not come to a conclusion because defense accepted a plea. I don't know if they necessarily accepted a plea other than the person just changes their plea in the middle of the case. I don't know if they, and I'm not a criminal attorney, so don't quote me on this, and different states may have different things that they can do. But I think the defendants can just plead guilty doesn't mean that they're necessarily getting offered.
I think they mean like accepted a plea deal.
Yeah, but you can still plead during your trial without having a deal. So I think that.
But what would the benefit of that be?
You see that you're losing. It's not a smart move, but you just see that you're losing. But if you think about it, a lot of plea deals suck. Especially like when you're talking about, this is not a murder, it's manslaughter, but in murder cases, they'll be like, yeah, plead guilty and we'll just, we won't give you the death penalty, but they give you like two life sentences. So it's like, okay, well, what the heck was the point of me pleading?
Extended death penalty.
You're right. So, I mean, all plea deals aren't good, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a criminal attorney, so maybe they can offer a plea deal in the middle of the case. But the other question would be, well, why would I accept a plea deal in the middle of the case if the prosecutor really thinks they're going to win? You might as well push it to the end and say, you're not going to win, nanny goo goo, and roll your dice with the jury. So I think a plea deal on either side would not be a good indication for either side. It's either,
and it's moving so quickly. I can't imagine. I don't think either lead attorney, like, they're too stubborn for that.
Yeah, I that's why I think defendants just took, in my opinion, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I think the defendant would just plead because they know they're going to lose or whatever. And they want to avoid paying someone like the restitution or whatever, cost. And these, the state is paying a lot of money for these experts. These experts are not doing this for free. Okay. Let's see. I think we got to that one. Just Me MD says, I agree there were multiple failures on many levels. Yeah, I agree with that. And a banana 1701A, I love the name, says probation. You think she's only going to get probation? I don't know. I don't know what she's going to get, but I'm thinking at least a year because I feel like I kind of agree with the defense. Someone has to be the scapegoat. Island says, I think they charged Hannah because she incriminated herself. The rest had union lawyers and kept their mouths shut. Yeah. They get into the union aspect of things a little today too. Island says, we don't know if she's providing the weapons unless we see her contract. I think they talked about it in the opening statement, and we have to see where it came from. And even if she's not providing the weapons, she still has a job to check the weapons.
Well, even if she's not sourcing the weapon,
right?
Like, she's responsible. If she's possibly bringing ammo to set, that means she's providing the dangerous things to set at some point.
Right. And she's in control of the weapon too. So they can't, no one can just go and grab the gun. She's supposed to be the one only handling the gun.
Supposed to, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just Me MD says, so now they are going to make an example of her. That's just my opinion. Don't know if it's going to happen that way. That's just my opinion. Island says the max is 18 months. Island says, but she'd be a felon and not be able to be around firearms. But she's just a 26-year-old girl, so maybe she shouldn't be around firearms.
It would also be 18 months for the tampering charge if she gets charged with that. But I can't imagine they'd be like sentenced concurrently. That'd be wicked to get 3 years.
That would be messed up. That would be. Let's see here. Just Me MD says, Bree, I don't see her doing a year. Okay, what do you think? What do you think? Elin said, Island, I want to call you Elin. Island says, see, I think Alec had the ultimate duty as both producer and the person aiming. Okay. And I think he could take some liability off of her as being the producer, because he probably should have been paying more. He should have been paying more attention to the safety aspect of things instead of trying to do things quick, cheap and quick, as they say in some of the testimony. Just Me MD says, no way Alec gets prison time. I don't see him getting prison time. I don't know though. Crazier things have happened. I'll tell you that. Island says there is a civil lawsuit and there has been one settled. No one sues her because she's poor. Yeah, called Deep Pockets. They tried to call out one of the witnesses on that today, but it's called Deep Pockets. And why do we want to hit the 24-year-old while she's down? She's already fixing a jail sentence. Now you want her to be broke too? That's not.
Yeah, there's been several civil lawsuits. Like she sued, wasn't it? She sued Sith Kenny and Sarah Zachary or whatever too.
Mm-hmm. I haven't kept up with the civil lawsuits. Just Me MD says, exactly. You get in the middle of trial and see, oops, I should have taken the plea. Defense attorney go to the prosecutor and ask for a plea deal. Yeah, that I could see it happening. I don't know how common it is for the actual plea deal versus just going ahead and pleading. Okay. Comments went a little longer than I expected there, but thank you for all the interaction. Let's see where we're at. We're at 22 likes. Our goal for the stream is 30 likes. So if you're watching live and you haven't hit the like button, please do. It does help us out in the algorithm, helps us get more friends, and we reach our stream like goal. We don't have a prize for it yet, but we want to hit 30 likes, okay? Let's go ahead and jump into day 3, which is going to be a little bit long-winded because there were some long-winded witnesses. All right, we are going right into day 3. If I can figure out how to share my screen. Here we go. We got Bryce Ziegler. Interesting name. I should have my notes pulled up, but I didn't. So here we are. So he is the FBI lab examiner, or I put him as a forensic examiner. And that's what Kimmy put too, so we'll go with that. He works for the FBI. He deals with the firearms and tool marks. I think he said something about being an explosive. He's in the explosive department.
No, not this guy.
That's not him? Okay.
No, he's just in the firearms and tool marks unit, and forensic examiner is his like official title in the FBI.
All right. Okay, makes sense. I just confused him with another man. But he testified to right. He testified to basically how guns worked. He talked about how you needed to pull the hammer and pull the hammer back on the revolver. You have to pull that back, and then you have to pull the trigger in order for it to fire. Now, that's going to become an issue when Alec finally goes to trial, or I guess partly in this trial too. I don't think whether the trigger was pulled is going to be that much of an issue in this trial, but he's saying that you would need to pull the trigger in order for it to fire, because there are different little groves, and basically you have a couple of moments to prevent the gun from firing if you're not intending for it to fire. He's also the guy that broke the gun. He's also the guy that broke the gun. He testified to the gun, although it is a newer gun, it's still a replica of a revolver, and it's designed to only fire when you pull the trigger. As I talked about, it has those multiple safety functions where I forgot what he called them, but they're like little groves in the actual hammer where it's like 1/4 cocked, half cocked, and then I think fully cocked or 3/4 cocked or something like that. And he kind of showed after he broke the gun what those little grooves look like, that basically if you accidentally release the hammer too early, it's not just going to go forward and fire from just pulling the hammer. If you watch the case a little bit, Alec has done interviews saying that he pulled the hammer back, but he didn't pull the trigger. So I don't know how much y'all believe that, but this expert is pretty much saying no, that shouldn't happen with this kind of gun. Okay. And then let's see, he examined the ammo at the scene, and then he also examined ammo from Seth Kinney, which were different than the live rounds that were found at the scene. He basically, like I said, he's the one that broke the gun. So he testified to the test that he did to break the gun. That wasn't the point of the test, but he basically hit the gun with a mallet to see if it can accidentally fire off a round without pulling the hammer all the way back. He was able to do the full test with the hammer all the way down. And I think he said if you hit the hammer from the back, then it did fire. And let's see here. And then when he did the test with it fully cocked, that's when he broke it. So he basically hit the hammer with a hammer, hit the hammer with a mallet, and broke the hammer. So he wasn't able to finish the test with the hammer being fully cocked. And when I'm talking about the hammer, I'm talking about that little chinky thing that you pull back and then you go boom. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Hope that makes sense. Okay. He also fired the gun prior to him breaking it to basically determine what kind of mark was left on the bullet. The identifier of the firing, I don't know what it's called, but it leaves a mark when it hits a bullet. Okay, let's see.
Firing pin.
Yeah, the firing pin, and there's also something else that's more.
Breech face?
Yeah, that one. That one, it leaves marks on the breech face thing. Let's see here. All right, I'm trying to figure out where I'm at. Okay, so here it is. It only accidentally fired at the resting position with the mallet, or it broke when it was fully cocked, which we just talked about. He would say, he would not say that the actor needed to pull the trigger in order for it to fire. And they're very careful when they testify to these types of things, because he's saying my test did not show that it will fire if you didn't pull the trigger unless these things happen. Doesn't necessarily mean that some other event couldn't come up to where the gun did fire without pulling the trigger, but it's basically not likely based on his test. Like I said, he fired live rounds prior to breaking the gun to kind of figure out the identifier that's left on the cartridge after it's fired. He found one live round in the dummy box from the scene. And then from Seth Kinney live round, he found that Seth Kinney live rounds were different than the ones on the scenes. He also found that the gunpowder inside of the bullets looked different than the gunpowder from the bullets on the scene looked different than the Seth Kinney bullets on the scene. Because remember, they're trying to blame Seth Kinney supplying the bullets, but are we saying that Seth Kinney couldn't buy different bullets? Are they all coming from Seth Kinney? We saw how I didn't see, but some of you saw how disorganized his shed or his basement was with his ammo. So he testified to basically Seth Kinney's looking different than the scenes actual live rounds. And then he also testified to the fact that he's the one that broke the gun and that it could accidentally fire. Okay. Then we get to Cross. Mr. Baldy is a very aggressive again, and he basically indicates that Mr. Ziegler is not trained in all dummy rounds. He was only aware of the 3 that were available on the set. But the Mr. Baldy, or Mr. Bowles, I guess we can call him today. Bowles, Baldy, same thing. Not nice. Mr. Bowles, he named like a different type of dummy round that this guy was not familiar with. He also asked him if he took the gun apart before he did the test on it, but Bryce could not take the gun apart first because then he would have been altering the gun. I mean, maybe not altering it, but he's basically not testing it in the condition that he received it in, because who's to say that Bryce would have took the gun apart and then he put it together looser than what it was when he first got it, or he put it too tight, or he broke it, or whatever it may be. So again, this is one of the things where I'm like, I don't feel like the defense is making the best points. He also indicated that he did not do a drop test. The defense, for whatever reason, wanted Bryce to do a drop test to basically see if the gun will fire without pulling the trigger. However, no one in the case said that Alec dropped the gun and then that's when it fired and shot Halyna. So I think Bryce did a pretty good job in saying, well, no one indicated that that was the reason why the gun went off. So why would I then do a drop test? The gun was not dropped and fired. So I think he held up pretty good in that. He did testify to never getting the actual weight of the gun. He also testified to the fact that he was hitting the gun with a mallet and there was no way to really determine the amount of force that he was using when hitting the gun. I think they said something would have required like 2 pounds of force. I think the hammer, when you shoot, the hammer hitting the gun would require at least 2 pounds of force. So that part didn't look that great for him, that he couldn't really determine exactly how hard he was hitting the gun each time to see if it would misfire. But again, I don't know what Alec is saying happened in order for the gun to just misfire. If you're just pulling it back and pulling it out your pocket, pulling it out your pocket and it just fires, I don't know how else you test that. So there's that. He also testified, or the cross got him to admit that he didn't take apart every single bullet that he received. He just kind of did a test sample and he had a method of pulling out that test sample. And there was it would be basically like a waste of time to take apart 50 bullets when at least I think it was like 4 or 6 bullets showed that each bullet had basically the same thing. He also took x-rays of each bullet to determine whether they were a dummy round or a real round, and all the ones that he determined were real rounds, he did an x-ray of all of those. So there was that. And that actually came out on redirect because the defense did try to point out that he didn't open up every single round. And so he testified that he did the x-ray to figure out if they were live rounds. He did the sample size of rounds, and none of the ones that he received from Seth Kinney's place were dummy rounds. And he found one dummy round that looked, he found one live round that looked similar to a dummy. So that was probably the one where they actually filled the hole, or no, it wasn't one. Live round that looked similar to a dummy, but looked similar. It would still have the powder that moves around in the inside that you can feel the powder move around. And he testified to that. So that was the end of Bryce Ziegler. I liked him. I thought he answered the questions pretty well. I think Mr. Bowles, Baldy Bowles, whatever his first name is, he was a bit, I guess he's just like an aggressive person, but I think the witness did pretty good. And he is the one that made me understand the difference between the dummy and the live round, as far as the dummy being the one that makes the noise and does a flash, but not necessarily I don't know, I don't think it was him. No, I think it was him. But the blank would not do the same thing. So that's him. All right, and then we have Shannon Prince, who I thought looked like the other lady, but maybe she doesn't look like her. They just both have short hair, and I don't know.
I just have to say real quick, I love that her last name is Prince and she does Leighton Prince. I know it's dumb, but it just little stuff like that tickles me.
Okay. Shannon Prince, she's an FBI physical scientist and forensic examiner, and she was qualified as an expert in latent prints, so like fingerprints. She explained to us how they do fingerprints and how they can track it. You can use the ink, put it against white paper, or sometimes you just leave latent prints, which you're not really using. I'm going to call it an accelerant, but it's not called an accelerant, but where you're not using something to actually make your print, but maybe like oil from your hands is what's actually causing you to have a fingerprint left behind. She took proficiency tests. She passes her test. Okay. She's good at what she does. Let's see here. She testified to the fact that the first box of the rounds that they found at the scene, 2 of the fingerprints were confirmed to be fingerprints of, what is her name? Hannah. But the first box, David Hall, Alec Baldwin, and Sarah Zachary were excluded from having touched that box, or not touched that box, but having left fingerprints on the box. And there were at least 8 fingerprints that she had there. And then the second box, they found that 3 of the fingerprints on the box were Hannah's. And let me see. I think they couldn't exclude some people, but I didn't get that one typed in of who it couldn't exclude on that one. She also testified that there were some of the FBI agents' fingerprints on the box because they actually sent the box over to, who did they send it over? I can't remember. They sent it over to some area of the FBI lab prior to sending it over to her, which she said was the wrong order because it kind of caused a little bit of contamination with leaving a fingerprint on the box. Did you have something on that one, Kimmy?
No, I thought I had a note on where it went before her, but I apparently don't. So then I just had a face about the contamination because the chain of custody was so many things.
Mm-hmm.
It's been such a disaster.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like they have it all the way together as far as the chain of custody goes. All right, then we have Robert Gillett. I don't know how you say his name, but he's a chemist, forensic examiner. He's the one with the explosives. And he was qualified as an expert in chemical forensic examination. And I liked him. I feel like he was pretty straightforward. He's definitely, a scientist type of guy. That's the vibes he gives off. He works in the explosive units. He was established as an expert. He tested, he tested the chemistry of the bullets and the dummy rounds. His was complicated. Okay. I tried my best to keep track of what he actually did, but he basically did a visual looking at the bullets, and then he extracted the powder, and then he divided each element, put it through a machine, and he was doing all kinds of stuff, right? He examined the ones from Kenny and then also the ones from the actual scene. Now, on cross, it came out that he actually received the bullets not in the containers that they were received in, but in little Ziploc baggies with a portion of the powder already extracted. So technically, he wasn't really the one that pulled the powder out of the bullet. So that was a little interesting to me. Defense tried to establish could the powder have gotten mixed up, and he was like, no, the powder is not mixed up. They likely came from those same bullets. They were consistent. I don't know what difference it would have made. They were both live bullet powder rounds, or the powder from the live bullet. So they're basically trying to say whether he cross-contaminated the powders, and he was basically like, no. He did not determine whether the live, or I don't know what I meant by that. There is a way, defense wanted to know whether there was a way to determine who was the manufacturer of the smokeless powder. I don't really see how that was relevant in the case, and I don't think he could really see how it was relevant in the case. That really didn't take them anywhere. I think the biggest thing that the defense got out of it was one, he didn't know who had the bullets and the gunpowder before him, and I'm sure he could like check his report, but he didn't. And then the other thing that they got out of him, that he got the bullets in a Ziploc bag. So maybe someone, for whatever reason, in the FBI gave him different bullets associated with different powders. I don't know why they would do that, but it did kind of poke holes in his testimony, in my opinion, for that. On redirect, the state basically made sure to have Gillette testify to the fact that there are procedures to stop from doing cross-contamination when working with different type of powders. He testified to that he has worked with different type of powders or different, gun powders, if he knew that he can keep them controlled and separate. And he testified that he has done that before. So I think that saved him a little bit, but I don't know if his testimony was that it was relevant in that Seth's bullets were different than Hannah's bullet or than the scene bullets, but I don't know how it helps or hurts Hannah, because she's basically saying she didn't supply any of the live bullets. So I don't know what the powder would matter. So
I think the argument with that is that if not from Seth, then who else?
Right, but who supplied the bullets? I don't know if that helps her. Because the thing is, the bullets were there and she was supposed to stop them from going in the gun.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it hurt her. I think it was like neutral testimony, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, you're right, because defense is the one who brought that up, isn't it?
About the powder?
Mm-hmm.
As far as whether it actually came from the bullets that were there before Seth Kinney's bullets, or whether they came from his thing. Yeah, they're the ones that's saying, I don't know what they're trying to say, but I just don't see how. Either way, they were live rounds, and one was on the set, and then one came from Seth Kinney. I guess it's to absolve Seth Kinney, but it's not Seth Kinney's trial. So, or maybe if she was under Seth Kinney's control, then if it wasn't Seth Kinney's powder, how could she have brought it there? But even if she didn't bring it there, that doesn't stop her from not putting the bullets into the gun.
Right. At the very end, she should have stopped it from being put in the gun. But I remember hearing that it was said that like people were bringing ammo onto set to like do target practice or something. So maybe that's the implication they're trying to make, that it wasn't from her. It wasn't from the prop house. So it's some third mysterious party. And how would we have known, or how would I have known, because this third mysterious bullet looks and acts like the other ones?
Yeah. I don't know if she's going to be able to prove that it acted like another one. And if she gets on the stand and said that, I think they're going to find her to be a liar. That's my opinion. Okay, we got Geraldine Conaway. She is the DNA examiner. She had a pretty short testimony. She did DNA testing on the revolver. She tested for Alec Baldwin, Hannah Gutierrez, David Halls, and Sarah Zachary. And she detected Alec Baldwin's DNA on the gun. Hannah's DNA was not detected on the gun. However, or like a full profile was not detected on the gun. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that she never touched the gun, which would be bad for her if she's just letting people pass around the guns and she's an armorer. She cannot, or it's their, what she said, it's their standard not to do DNA testing on the cartridge because not enough DNA is usually left there, and they would rather leave whatever is left on the bullet for the fingerprints department, is what she stated. But I think the fingerprints department said that they don't really try to get fingerprints off a bullet. So I don't know if that makes that much sense either. Okay, and so basically she just testified that it's pretty hard getting DNA from it. And we talked about the fingerprint girl just a few minutes ago. And she basically talked about how she worked on that Las Vegas shooting case, and they tried to get fingerprints off of those bullets and off of those guns. And it was like out of so many tries, they were able to get like 1 or 2 fingerprints. And it was like off of, thousands of tries. And so the percentage of being able to obtain fingerprints off of guns because of the material, bullets because of the material and the fire burning off some of the DNA or the fingerprints. So they kind of testified to that neither one of them do it, but she testified that they actually leave it, if anything, for the fingerprint people to try to get fingerprints off of it. The cross-examination, defense attorney, Mr. Bowles, tried to get her to admit that they're able to do the testing. She kept saying it's our standard not to do that testing because you're not likely to get any DNA. And she's like, yeah, of course I could do it, but it probably wouldn't be helpful. So that was he tried to establish that she could have done it, but their standard is not to do it. And they're the FB freaking I. Okay. So, again, DNA, we knew that Alec touched the gun. Not really helpful or unhelpful, I guess I would say. But yeah. Okay. And then we have Ross Adiago. He's the last witness for the day, but he was actually pretty long-winded, or not long-winded. They had a lot of questions for my boy, Ross Adiago. I thought he was a very likable character, but a very likable witness. I did think he had a little bit of acting going on. Like maybe he wished he was in front of the camera rather than behind the camera. He is the dolly grip that I have been talking about. He worked on Rust as a dolly grip. He testified to basically his role in being a dolly grip, and then also what happened during the shooting and the aftermath of the shooting. And so he would describe his role as a dolly grip is basically working with the camera crew to make sure that they're getting the right shots. He's not the one actually holding the camera, but he's the one kind of directing the cameraman on what to do, help setting up the camera and all of the things. He's been working in the film industry, he said, for like 30 years, and that he has 100 recognized credits, but he probably has closer to 200 credits working on movie scenes, movies, music videos, commercials, things like that, but they don't always get recorded in their little database of what his credits should be. Like if it's a low budget movie, he might not get recognized. But so he has 30 years of experience, all the things. Defense tried so hard not to let in a lot of his testimony, basically that he's not an expert in being an armorer. How is he supposed to know what the armorer does? And so the way that he got in a lot of his testimony about like who was in charge of the guns and the bullets and all of the things is based on his experience. And his experience on other movie sets, this is what happened. On this experience, he also testified to the fact that armorers, in his experience, he's worked on at least 12 movies, he said, where there were armorers and there were guns, and they were a lot more serious. They were like police officers, ex-military. They didn't really joke around and, weren't very, very distracted on the set. But Hannah, on the other hand, was doing props, running around. He rarely saw her when guns were on the scene. He just described her as being disorganized and not serious. He described her prop cart as being unorganized. He described her prop cart as not being what he would think is up to standard based on what he's seen before, as far as the carts actually having locks and drawers on them with locks on it so that no one else can touch the gun, versus hers, which was just an open cart that had bullets everywhere and guns everywhere and belts everywhere. He also witnessed the accidental discharges, which he said, hurt his ears and hurt other people's around ears when Zachary did it. And then also, I think he said he was outside when the other actor did it. So hopefully his ears wasn't hurt in that. He also testified that at the time of Halyna's shooting, they were only on set for about 10 to 12 days. He noticed a lot of safety issues going on that weren't really being addressed. He did learn later on that Hannah asked for more safety training, but he didn't know that was going on prior to everything going on. He also described what the dummy. Oh, I lied. I said that forensic guy made me understand what the dummy round and everything actually was. It was actually him. That the dummy is supposed to appear to be a real bullet, and that's the one that actually like makes the sound and everything. I was just confused about it all, to tell you the truth. I'm sorry. The blank is what makes the sound and the light. See, I'm still confusing it. And the dummy is just meant to look like it for the camera. And he's seen this and he knows because of his experience of being on these kind of sets for 30 or plus years. Let's see here. I kind of summarized just based on my memory. And then so he did testify that he's not always on scene and that he's generally was there for at least 95% of what was going on, but sometimes maybe he did miss a take or two. He testified that Hannah would walk away from the firearms and that he was there for the negligent discharge of Sarah Zachary, which I already talked about. And he also talked about the second accidental discharge was a stuntman that was supposed to be pretending to be Alec Baldwin for the movie to shoot the long gun for the scene. All right. Let's see. He believed that the armorer, who would be Hannah, was responsible for the accidental discharge. He testified to knowing that David Hall, ignored the safety concerns that a lot of the camera people were the people that were bringing up the issues in safety. And the day of the shooting, 6 people from the camera department quit. And they were replaced with 2 to 3 other people, and then they only had 1 camera, while originally they had 2 cameras that they were working with. And so him and the camera guy that remained were working really hard on making sure that the movie would still finish on time. And so he also testified to, prior to lunch, they were practicing a scene where Alec Baldwin was basically supposed to just be showing his gun so that they can get some type of shot, so that the viewer will know that he's showing the gun prior to the people coming in to attack him and hoping that he shoots them first. But I don't know if he was just confused about what was the scene or whether the director just was not being clear to Alec Baldwin, because all before lunch, Alec Baldwin keeps pulling the gun out and pointing it and pulling the gun out and pointing it and pulling the gun out and pointing it, when he's supposed to just be doing this and showing the gun out of his holster. So I'm like, either the director wasn't directing or he was unclear about what the actual shot was supposed to be, which if the shot was actually what Ross said it was supposed to be, then maybe the gun would not have gone off. And I'm saying, well, maybe the gun would not have gone off, but what's to stop it from going off later? Because he still would have had to do a scene where he's actually drawing the gun, right? So there's that as well. Let's see. He testified to not ever being called to see in the barrel. And he said on other movie sets, the armorer will basically, show everyone around the scene, hey, this is a dummy, shake it, can you hear it, blah, 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 tell them all about it. And then if they were like skeptical about anything, they can call him out on it. He said that Hannah never did it. And even when the shooting happened, Hannah wasn't even in the building. Or maybe she was in the building, but he couldn't see her, right? The gun was not in her view. He basically said that he heard Hannah say, oh, the gun is clear from before lunch because I checked it. And then David Hall shouts out cold gun, which basically means that it's not going to make a sound. It's not going to discharge. It's just going to be, it's basically an empty gun is what the cold gun means. Or maybe it has a dummy in it that won't fire or whatever it is. So they thought it was all checked because Hannah said so. But at that point, they've no longer seen Hannah anymore. And so it went on. He pulled the gun out. Alec pulled the gun out. And it was really tough I'll say this. It was tough to watch him. That's the part that I wanted to actually play on the stream, because he started crying and it was like a lot of emotion. He said like once the sound went off, he made eye contact with Halyna and he kind of saw her going faint. And then he rushed to Joel to basically help him out. And then there was someone else kind of putting pressure on Halyna, trying to help her out too. And so he just worked on helping helping Joel out while someone else worked on Halyna. And he basically told, if you're not going to help, he yelled out, if you're not going to help, get out. He said it in not so nicer words, a little bit more aggressive words. But if you're not going to help, get out. He testified to seeing Alec Baldwin sitting down and then getting up, and he was gone. And then he never seen Hannah after the shooting until today. He testified, like, even after the shooting, while all the chaos was going on, he had not seen Hannah until today at the trial, which I thought was pretty powerful. Now, what I would say is, like, his crying, although I found it to be powerful when it happened, as soon as the defense got up there, my boy's mood changed. My boy was ready to battle. He had a lot to say. Defense basically tried to establish that, defense basically tried to establish that he's suing Alec Baldwin. Aren't you suing Alec Baldwin in the production? Well, why aren't you suing Hannah? It's because you want money, huh? It's because you want money, huh? It's because you want money. And so he was, there was a lot of objections coming towards him for the defense for being argumentative. He's like, didn't this, didn't that? And basically Adiago was answering the question, but then Mr. Bowles was coming back at him, asking him the same questions again. And the judge had to correct him several times during his questioning, which in my opinion did not make him look very good. I definitely understand, as a defense attorney, you're supposed to come off as defending your client. But I think that when you get too aggressive like that, that can come off as, what are you trying to hide? You're being a little bit too aggressive. This guy is not, really pushing back that much. And his lawsuit really doesn't have anything to do with this case. And he just kept saying, I'm trying to get justice for my friend who was shot, and your client was the one responsible for loading the gun. And if she did not load the gun, then my friend would not be shot, and my other friend would not be dead. So I don't know how much they were friends, because he said they were only on set for 12 days. But I think he did a good job combating back with the defense attorney, but I do think the defense attorney kind of showed an ugly head on his side, because he couldn't even control the way that he was asking questions. So his main thing was to establish that this guy had a lawsuit going on. That didn't really change anything for me. Let me know if that changed anything for y'all. Let's see here. I'm trying to get to Cross. He testified to the fact that his lawsuit said that the production was trying to do cheap and quick. Just because they're trying to do cheap and quick, Gutierrez accepted the cheap and quick. So if she was not happy with her pay, she shouldn't have taken the job if she wasn't going to take her job seriously, because they weren't paying her the amount that she thought she should have been paid. He also, which I thought was like disgusting and I didn't like it, brought up, oh, so you've been on sets where other people had guns, right? Yeah, I've been on sets like that, but you've never seen a young 24-year-old female do it, right? What the hell does that have to do with anything? She took the job. And so he did a really good job in saying, I don't really pay attention to whether they're female or male. It's your job. I don't think your age, your age might give you a little bit more experience, but I don't think your age or your gender really has anything to do with whether you're able to stand up to Baldwin. And so defense tried to make that point. You didn't stand up to Baldwin, so why would you expect a 24-year-old woman to stand up to Baldwin? Because that's her job. Safety is her job. It was David Hall's job too. And she was supposed to stand up to him, because guess what? Guess who's on trial? Not David Hall. David Hall is not the one on trial. So if you were not able to speak up for yourself and speak up for the safety for your castmates, then maybe you shouldn't do it if you thought that you were too young. So didn't like those points that defense was making. I don't think it looked good for him. And then let's see. Redirect, the prosecution basically asked him about the lawsuit and whether he lost enjoyment in life. He started crying again, and then that's when I kind of started thinking that his crying wasn't that genuine, because then she asked him another question and he was basically like perfectly fine, in my opinion. And then he testified to the fact that he got subpoenas from both sides to be at this trial. So even if he wasn't filing, or even if he is filing a lawsuit, he was under subpoena to come to the court. So no, he's not doing this to basically further his other lawsuit. I didn't get that vibe from him. I think he was just testifying to what he saw. I don't think he was lying. I thought his tears were not as genuine as I initially thought, but I don't think that he was lying about what actually happened. Okay. And that's pretty much all I have from him. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the chat. That was a lot for me to say. So let's get Bossy to bring us in. All right. Yeah, almost done with the live stream. Almost a 3-hour live stream. What is that all about? Okay. Tanya D says, shout out to the replay crew as well. Yes, of course, if you're watching on the replay, I'm sorry that it took me so long to get to this, but it was a lot of content to get through. So yeah, shout out to y'all as well. Island says, interesting name, interesting haircut. As far as who are you talking about? I think that was a while back. Tiny D says, I missed this witness too. I don't know exactly.
The name and haircut was Ziegler, the
Ziegler guy?
The one who broke the gun.
Oh. Did he have an interesting haircut?
Buzz.
It's just a buzz cut.
Like a law enforcement one, essentially.
Yeah. This guy, you guys think he has a funny haircut? Okay. Island says the witness basically proved the gun did not malfunction. Hannah didn't tamper with it and the trigger was pulled. Yeah. I get that. I forgot what I said about him. Sometimes I get too far ahead of where I was. Yeah, so I don't know. It doesn't really help.
That was Ziegler too.
Okay, yeah, I think so, but I can't remember what I said, what that would be a response to, or if she was just explaining. Tiny says Shannon looks like that cartoon character. Which cartoon character? Oh gosh, we can't stay focused. Island says Shannon Prince is my favorite witness. She looks like she brings the best dish to the potluck and remembers people's birthdays. That's nice. Kimmy Lockett says to Island and tells the goofiest jokes with such a heart. Yeah, she does. Island says, yes, exactly. She'd be a really good friend. I just know it. She does look like a nice person. Here we go. She does kind of look like a cartoon. I think I know who Tanya is talking about. I think she's talking about is that American Dad, is it? With the daughter, with the meme where she like twerking? I don't know. I don't know what show that's from, but I know who you're talking about, Tanya.
I don't know. She makes me feel like Sheldon's wife on Big Bang Theory, kind of.
Yeah. No, I think she was a good witness for sure. Tanya D says, I missed him too. My work has been keeping me busy, so I couldn't listen. I've had to listen on 2x speed on my lunch, on the way to work, on the way from work, and just trying to keep up with it. Yesterday, Kimmy, when I told you I fell asleep at like 6 p.m. and I don't know why. I mean, I woke up maybe at 5, but normally I will still stay up and do stuff. But for whatever reason, I've like passed out sleeping on the couch. And I slept till like 5 this morning. So
did you wake up feeling rested?
No, I was still tired. Well, I was like energetic for like an hour, and then I watched some of this, and then I was tired again. Oh yeah,
that's fair.
Alan says plinking was debunked. No evidence of plinking on set. What does that mean? Do you know?
Okay, so I denounce and reject myself if that was debunked. That's referring to them bringing live ammo on to do like target practice or whatever, like plinking.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's been debunked yet, unless I missed it today.
I don't know, because being debunked and no evidence of it happening aren't necessarily the same thing.
Right. I don't know if it's, I don't know. Which was another point that was brought up. They kind of got some information in as to whether any of the people that quit like put bullets on the set when they quit. I think that's a bit extreme. I don't think that happened as far as like the people that, you know, quit the camera crew. But I think they were smart to quit that day, because look what happened the same day they quit. I mean, does it look a little suspicious? Maybe, but my question would be, at what time would they have had time to reload the gun that Hannah's supposed to be
And
in charge
also,
of?
that allegedly wasn't the first day that ammo was
Right.
on set.
Right. Exactly. That's true too. And like I said, I could imagine someone going, hey, you guys are not having safety meetings. Someone's going to get hurt, and I'm going to leave before someone gets hurt. And then someone got hurt.
Was that point made as far as like sabotage or like leaving bullets to make a point? Like hoping no one would ever actually point it at a person. And so if they have a bad enough scare, then it'll actually get safe.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I think State's the one that brought it up. So I'm thinking they're saying, oh, well, do you think any of the camera people, would have left it? And he said no. So I think they're trying to, basically establish that at least the camera people didn't do it, even if it, someone else did bring it on set.
That's like what you said earlier, though. Like, why does that point have to be made? Who thought that the people leaving because of safety issues
would then cause a safety issue?
Yeah.
And then it could be to make them take it more seriously or to prove a point to Hannah. But what good would that do? Now someone's unalive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tiny D's goes Breaking Bad as far as the character goes.
I think she said that when the last witness was on with the bald and the...
Oh, let me see.
Man, if we took a shot for every time there was a bald person on screen.
There's so many bald people.
There's a new bald person. Yeah. Not every time.
There are so many bald people. It's not even funny, but maybe it's a thing in New Mexico. Are you talking about Ross as Breaking Bad? This guy?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Island says he drives the camera car. Yeah, but he does some other stuff there, too. Tanya D says, I can't imagine what he went through. Yeah, he saw it like live in action. That had to be traumatizing. Island says he said he was suing the people responsible production, which I think makes a lot of sense. I don't think bringing up his lawsuit really helped the defense, to tell you the truth.
And he also had that moment where when the cross exam was asking him if he was hoping for money or whatever, and he goes, I'm hoping for justice, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't give that opportunity.
How nasty for you to even say that to me. And the thing is, like I said, why kick Hannah while she's down? You've already told us a million times, and I wish Ross would have said it. She's a 24-year-old girl. She's already being charged with manslaughter. Why would I try to kick her while she's down? Well,
and strategically, it doesn't even make sense to say, oh, you're just going after money. Like, why wouldn't he stick to the party line of, oh, you're going after the people responsible. You want justice, right? Like,
yeah.
But so I don't think it came across that way. I think that's what he's trying to do.
Right. I don't think he really established his point there. Of course, he's going after money. Of course, he's going to go with the person with money. But there is also mental damage that happens by watching someone that gets shot. And although Hannah was responsible in some level, doesn't mean that she should have to monetarily pay him. I think that falls more on Baldwin in the production.
So civilly, obviously it makes sense that production would have breached duties that they had to the crew for having an unsafe set. For her failing to do her job, obviously there's potential criminal liability, but do you think she would have a duty imposed to the
sue her for a negligent infliction of emotional distress? So it would still be under negligence. She wouldn't be responsible vicarious liability. So even in his lawsuit, he may still have to prove that Hannah did something wrong. But why not prove that the trigger puller did something wrong, which is Alec, who's also the production company. So you two birds in one stone versus trying to have to prove Hannah did something wrong and and Allie did something wrong, and Seth did something wrong, and she's a 24-year-old girl. Let's keep using your own position of, oh, why would we try to get money from a 24-year-old girl that took an underpaying armorer job? She doesn't have any money, and she's potentially about to go to jail. So no, I'm not going to sue her. So I don't know. Couple thoughts. Tiny D says my mood would have changed to dude, don't come for me. Yeah, he did. But it's just the way, and I understand that too, because sometimes you can cry and then you gotta pull yourself together and in his case defend himself. So I can see it both ways, but I was just like, tears wasn't all the way genuine for me.
See, and I like, my heart just sinks thinking of what he went through and that whole scene and all of that stuff. I don't mean to be flippant by saying all that stuff either, but when the witness who was responsible for the day-to-day, when she like kind of caught herself with that like sad smile and then like looked like she was blinking a lot, like that hit me more, like, and I didn't know if I was just broken or something, but like that felt really sincere and sad and emotional and just like a heavy moment.
That makes sense. And I think his was just a little bit more aggressive. And he's not to say men are, tough or whatever, but he had to handle his own, right? And they're accusing him of something bad. I don't think they accused her of something bad. Alan says he said she picked the camera team and they likely knew each other before the movie. Yeah, she did handpick her camera team to make sure the shot was. I don't know if it was Halyna that handpicked it or if it was someone else that handpicked it to make sure it was exactly what they wanted. Alan said his lawyer was in the gallery. It means he isn't objective. He needs there to be negligence for him to get paid. But it doesn't have to necessarily be Hannah's negligence. It could be Baldwin's negligent or even Baldwin's intent. Like I said, they're probably going to be finding vicarious liability, not only suing Alec for probably intent if he pulled the trigger, but his negligent in handling the gun, and then also his vicarious liability of him being his own employer. So, I mean, you can add Hannah in there, but that's just an extra step when he can probably do it with just Alec.
And several of the witnesses, at least on the state witness list, I don't remember the defense witness list, have attorneys. I didn't look if they're all involved in civil suits, but I mean, it just makes sense with everything that happened to be discussing through attorneys and through the union and all of that stuff. One of the witnesses like has Gloria Allred as representation. So,
and one of the other things to note, like even we also have to remember that he was subpoenaed by both sides. So lawsuit or not, he would have had to testify whether you think he's being objective or not. Number two, he actually saw the shooting. So he was going to be testifying regardless of if he had a lawsuit or not. So, and other thing to notice or other thing to take into account is he's testifying under oath. If he makes a mistake, he has to stick to that, or if he gets to his own trial, he'll have to explain why he made that mistake or if he misstated something or whatever. So he's kind of putting himself under a bigger microscope than just not testifying, if that makes sense, whether he has his own lawsuit or not. So he's under oath. Whatever he says here can be used against him. So we can say
there was negligence. So
yeah. And it was. I don't see how she's going to get around that, to tell you the truth. Tiny D says defense didn't even acknowledge how difficult it must have been for him to relive that moment. No, they're like, you just want money. They just completely attacked him as soon as he came up. It was like, oh, but she's a 24-year-old girl and you want money. I'm like, gosh, what are you trying to say? It was very intense. Tiny D says, as someone who lost someone to Pum, thoughts of the incident can come over you when you start to speak. Then you're able to compartmentalize it again and soon as you stop talking. Yeah. No, I definitely get that. I did say that in that moment, but I think the way that it just went so fast, I wasn't all the way there with him anymore upon the second cry. I think the first one was genuine. But the loss of enjoyment of life one, I felt like that one was a little bit forced. But it, like you said, you never know. I'm not him. I didn't experience it. But no, I definitely understand that because I've done that before. I've been crying, been sad, been angry, and then calm. So no, I get it. Okay, let's see here. Tiny says, especially if he was mad, his anger kicked in and took over. Yeah, it did. It did. But I think he still handled himself really well. Island says they were also. Kimmy, are you the X in the background?
What?
In the background on the stream, are you the X person?
Oh yeah, so I did that to have like in-ears in and not risk that.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And then I did X to make sure that like the wrong one didn't go up.
Okay, makes sense. Elon says they were also leaving. They were also leaving over other issues, like the hotel wasn't nice enough. Oh, for the camera people that left, yeah. His testimony was more towards the camera. I'm not sorry that the safety. But they could have definitely been leaving for other issues. I didn't notice that testimony when he was up there. Small says, all right, I'm back. What I miss, I'll catch up on the replay. No problem. Small says, what we talking about right now, though? Hannah being 24 again. Someone tell her lawyer, Mr. Shine, we know. Yeah, we know, sir. We know. Yes, he tried to bring up, oh, have you ever seen one that's a 24-year-old female that was an armorer? No, but Rust hired her, so she needs to figure out how to do her job. And since Alec was Gloria... Alec has Gloria Allred. He stands to financially benefit. It doesn't mean he didn't go through something, but it does mean he stands to benefit. Yeah, he does, but just because they find negligence in a criminal trial doesn't necessarily mean that they'll find it in a civil trial too.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, there's different burdens of proof when it comes to civil and criminal. So criminal is beyond a reasonable doubt, and then civil is probably going to be not by preponderance of the evidence, but by clear and convincing evidence. So it's still a high burden, but it's a lot lower than what did I say? Clear and convincing, and then beyond a reasonable doubt. Yeah. Clear and convincing is like 75%, and then beyond a reasonable doubt, you're leaning more into the 99% that is likely to have occurred. So although he may benefit from a finding in criminal, maybe it's enough. I mean, I guess if you find criminal, then you have to find civilly, but not necessarily. He's going to be different, dealing with a different judge and a different practice area, and honestly, different evidence. You can say, oh, the jury found her guilty in this case, but doesn't necessarily mean that the judge has to then rely on that as far as for the civil case. So.
Yeah, I don't think Alec has Gloria Allred. Maybe Mitchell, the script supervisor, does, and she sued Alec. So, I don't think Alec has Gloria Allred.
Yeah, that would be a conflict if that's the case. Okay, anyways, that was the end of my live stream. I am tired of talking. I will be back on Thursday. Thank you for everyone that joined into the live stream. Thank you, Kimmy, for joining and commenting and helping me divide and conquer this thing. I'm going to try to keep up with the rest of it. Pretty deep. I don't know about detail, but I'm going to try to keep up with it so that we're ready to go on Thursday, covering Tuesday through Thursday. So another 3-day stream or 3-day coverage of the trial. That's what I'm aiming for, Thursday, and I should be able to upload the notes onto the document that we have. If you guys have any questions or any other cases that you guys want to cover while we're going through this, I'll try not to be as long-winded. And when talking about this, and like I said, let me know if there's any other cases that you want to cover, and I will see y'all all on the next live stream. Bye-bye.